call this meeting to order. If you would follow along with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by an invocation from Ted Martin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, Mayor and Board and guests. Please join me in prayer. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for another beautiful day in the Ozarks. And tonight we just pause and invite you into the chambers to be present as we do the city of the business of the city. We ask for guidance, for direction, for wisdom as these topics are discussed and voted on tonight. Father, we thank you for the many blessings, for your love, your mercy, and your forgiveness, and thankful for the opportunity to vote this afternoon or today for the initiatives on the ballot. Father, we love you and praise you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Ted. Madam Clerk, will you do a roll call, please?
Benson?
Here.
Denham? Here. Cooper?
Here.
Milton?
Yep.
Howden? Here. Rodriguez?
Here.
LeBlanc?
Here.
Your Honor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. We'll start off tonight's meeting with our Employee of the Month Award. So City Administrator Stepp, will you and the Director of Public Works, Woods, please present Amanda Ross with the Employee of the Month for August, please.
Amanda, on behalf of the Mayor, the Board of Aldermen, City Administrator, and City staff, it is my honor to announce Amanda Ross as the City of Branson August 2023 Service and Excellence Employee of the Month. This award recognizes employees who have gone above and beyond and whose performance exemplify the City of Branson values. Amanda was nominated for exceptional work in her former role, which brings a tear to my eye, see I added that for you, as a role in Public Works and Engineering Office Assistant. There, she took the initiative to write up the stormwater permit, update webpage, ensuring that we were always in compliance. When in Public Works, she never missed an opportunity to improve, enhance the processes in our department. Not only does she take the initiative, but she treats every employee and customer with the utmost respect. I'm very proud of you. I'm very proud of how far you've gone. For those sitting in the audience, she is now serving with Kathy in admin because of her awesome abilities and care to the citizens, the staff, and the City of Branson. And we congratulate you for being Employee of the Month.
Congratulations, Amanda.
Mr. Mayor, if I might ask for a special point of privilege this evening, we've got one more recognition that isn't on the agenda, but we thought everybody's here and gathered and it'd be a great opportunity, if you don't mind.
Sorry, we have a full agenda. Okay, of course you can.
Sharon White and Kevin Jacobs, come on down. As many of you all may know, or as you drive on 76, you'll see Sharon and Kevin working up there every day in the heat, making sure that 76 is as bright as possible. We wanted to highlight that Public Works received a letter from one of the business owners up there, and I want to read some of the statements they made about the tremendous amount of work and how hard they work. Sharon White and Kevin Jacobs. Sharon and Kevin are both employees for the City of Branson. They're incredible in what they do. They're always such a big help to us whenever something goes wrong with outside our lawn, sidewalk, steps, shrubbery, on the hill surrounding our building. But not only are they working our outdoor area, they also take care of the entire strip. What an amazing team to not only give time and effort to us, but also along the entire road that is the Branson Strip. We're incredibly lucky to have them take care of us, and they deserve recognition for their hard work, dedication to helping outside to match the care of the wonderful people inside along 76. We appreciate everything both of you do, and we wanted you to have a moment to be proud of everything you do, making Segment 3 and the rest of 76 as beautiful as you both do, and we appreciate you. And then we'd like to bring Billy Young from the 76 corridor for a quick few moments. Sure.
Yeah, on the behalf of CID Board, we thank you for these two guys. We've seen a lot of unbelievable work that they do, and especially in this unbelievable heat that you guys are dealing with. We thank you very much from the CID Board. Thank you.
And let me just say that I see these folks out there at the Clay Cooper Theater and every day, man. I mean, I just wanted to back that up and say what a great job. It doesn't go unnoticed. Every time I drive by and I see you got your little orange vest on or your bright yellow shirt, just getting after it, and it's great. You do great work, and it doesn't go unnoticed. So I just wanted to comment on that as well. So thank you guys for all you do up there.
Men and Kevin, thank you very much. Ted, would you come down, please?
Mayor, thanks for the short notice privilege here. As we're in the good news moments for a minute, there's two other couples need to stand up. You know who you are. Looking at both of you, front row. And yeah, these two families have both been to the Citizens Academy for the police department. They came out and spent countless hours volunteering over the last 2 weekends for the storm cleanup, and that helped us reduce labor for the city of Branson. So thank you all for your help with that process.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you all agree this would be a great time to adjourn the meeting?
Yeah. That was a lot of feel good right there, wasn't it?
Jason, you were clapping a little too loud there. Okay, this is the public comment section of the Board of Aldermen meeting. At this time, the board will hear the citizens who have signed up in the order they were listed. Please note, the clerk will let speakers know when they have 30 seconds left, and a notification will sound when their time is up. We ask that speakers wrap up their comments upon hearing the 30-second warning. If a speaker would like a board member to bring down an item from the consent agenda for additional discussion, please note this request during your comments. Madam Clerk, how many speakers do we have this evening?
We have 9 speakers. And our first speaker,
Go ahead.
if you're ready, is Joanne Caswell, 104 Hero Drive, speaking on ordinance revisions.
I have read and reread, looking through this ordinance, trying to find out what is the whole situation, and it looks like you're setting it apart downtown for the reason of adult entertainment, which means that they're run late into the evening. Now, is that correct?
That really wasn't one of the reasons, but that does apply, yes.
Okay, it says it may include bright signs and loud noises from live entertainment venues late into the evening. That's line 23 and 24. And that's why it appeals to adults as opposed to the other section, which I guess is earlier evening. And so you create zoning regulations for that purpose. But as we talked the last time, in this ordinance, I know you removed the child attendance and you removed the section about the cost. But I find that the whole thing, it's not the matter of the shows you currently have. They've all gotten up here and said they don't do sexual activity on stage, right? Now, this ordinance allows that.
No.
I'm looking at line 68. The performance includes jokes, references, dances, singing, or any other conduct that depicts, describes, or relates to specified sexual activities. That's the reading of it. Now, what I found that would really simplify and alleviate people's concerns is if you removed that depicts, describes, or relates and put without relating. And it would read, the performance includes jokes, references, dances, singing, or any other conduct without relating to specified sexual activities. That, it seems to me, would solve a lot of problems, because it sounds like what the shows you currently have are doing is more like comedy impersonations, which is not illegal. But when you call it under these terms and you write into the ordinance specified sexual activities, then you're changing it to include that into an ordinance. And I would refer you to our state law statute 567.090, which says, and this gives you an out, it says cities and towns may also enact and enforce laws prohibiting and penalizing public solicitation of sexual conduct, whether or not to offer to engage in conduct is in return for something of value. It's not just prostitution. So you're allowed to make laws that prohibit the sexual conduct on stage, according to that state law. And I have to ask each one of you this. Line 43 and 44 says, whereas the Board of Aldermen believes this ordinance does promote the health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the Branson Resident and Tourism community. Do you believe that this reflects your morals and values?
Joanne, I know you can ask the questions, but it's really up to each board member if they want to respond. My opinion on what you just said is we have spent a considerable amount of time with our legal counsel, preparing a document, preparing an ordinance that satisfies the U.S. Constitution and satisfies the will of the residents in Branson and the economic well-being of our community. So there's been an awful lot of time and effort put into this.
I've heard most of the comments from the people of the town, and the majority of them are against this activity on stage. I believe you've all heard that. So what time you've spent doing this did not change the fact
30 seconds.
that you left that in the ordinance. And if you would remove those 4 words and change that to say without relating to it, then it would eliminate the whole thing. Does that make sense? Do you all understand? I know that Alderman LeBlanc understood what I was saying last time. He picked up on it and he saw that it had to do with the sexual activity on stage. And Alderman Fenton and Alderman Rodriguez don't want that kind of garbage in their end of town where they're responsible for the offset of it.
Thank you, Joanne.
Our next speaker is Nate Horseman, 2550 State Highway 248, speaking on drag sanity.
Drag sanity. A little nervous this evening, a little shaky. So in recent weeks, I've talked to LGBTQ and gay rights activists, a few lawyers, and a couple of city attorneys from around the state. The Missouri ACLU has also been made aware multiple times about this ordinance. The The attorneys I spoke with were all pretty much in agreement on one main point. If you pass this ordinance, you will be violating the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America. For those of you that claim to support the Constitution, not the word of the Bible, let me remind you again what the First Amendment says. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Drag shows are protected freedom of speech under the First Amendment just as much as freedom of religion is. Now I will provide some examples of how futile attempts at restricting or banning drag performances have failed in federal courts in conservative states in the country where other state and local governments have tried to impose similar restrictions and bans on par with this ordinance we are discussing. These are all precedents set by federal judges, and they are all from the month of June this year. I'll exclude the precedent set in Tennessee by a Trump-appointed federal judge because that precedent has already been stated on the record from this podium. Utah, June 17, 2023. Public spaces are public spaces. Public spaces are not private spaces. Public spaces are not majority spaces. U.S. District Judge David Nuffer wrote in a Friday ruling granting the preliminary injunction requested by the group. The First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States ensures that all citizens, popular or not, majority or minority, conventional or unconventional, have access to public spaces for public expression. Here's my favorite part. Public officials take an oath to support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Utah. They do not merely serve the citizens who elect them, the majority of citizens in the community, or a vocal minority in the community. June 23, 2023, Florida. A U.S. judge on Friday blocked a new Florida law restricting drag performances. The third time this month that federal courts have enjoined laws backed by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis that concern gender or LGBTQ matters. In all three cases, the issues supported by DeSantis lost on the grounds that the laws appear to infringe on people's constitutional rights. Now, for this ordinance to even be legitimate, you also have to prove that these shows produce obscenity and are indeed classified as adult entertainment. You cannot do either because none of the people responsible for it, well, besides Mayor Milton, have ever attended a drag show that I know of and have no clue what they are talking about. I would bet that Mr. Lauber has done his due diligence and informed all of you of these precedents. This ordinance is unconstitutional, and for the sake of this city and everyone involved, it needs to be trashed. This ordinance is no good for anybody. In all due respect to our city legal department, I will lay my money on the ACLU and the Missouri federal courts. The bottom line, if this ordinance passes, this city is going to get sued. Is that what you want? Do you guys want to be the first ones to set the precedent for violating people's First Amendment rights? There are people watching this meeting right now, chomping at the bit to see if you impose it. Your own city attorney has stated that this is a slippery slope, and you yourself, Larry, have stated that doing this would probably open up the city to lawsuits. Lawsuits that could end up costing the taxpayers in this town a showboat load in litigation. So why do we as a city want to go down this road, especially lately when talks about more taxes are at the forefront? We will be the first city in Missouri to pass such an ordinance. What good comes from this? The negative attention it will bring, and why do you invite even more bad press? Do the right thing and end this madness right here and right now. Don't pass this ordinance and all of this goes away and we can focus on the things that actually matter to this city. I will say this in closing. T-Roy and Kevin and the drag entertainers that I've met throughout this journey, along with the people who attended their shows, are a heck of a lot better people than the hateful, misinformed souls who have been disparaging them and trying to wipe them off the face of the map the last couple of months. You want to get up here and claim you're a good Christian people, then act like it. What is being preached in these churches around here anyway? They have shown you all nothing but kindness and compassion in the face of all of your cruel, hateful, homophobic bigotry. What does that say about them, and what does that say about all of you? This is a non-issue. Drag has been a part of this diverse community for decades. The minuscule amount of recent drag shows haven't harmed anybody, but the hate spewed from this podium about them certainly has.
Thank you, Nate.
Our next speaker is Deanna Slatton, 187 Lone Pine, speaking on agendas on world stage.
All right, guys. I call this a hit piece because of the hit pieces taking between all of us. Number one, we have tech companies working against the people to build clouds and telecommunications and store your data to work against you and limit your freedoms and they're up and coming 15-minute cities, which you will live in whether you want to or not. In these cities, you will only be allowed to leave if you are the good slave. Number 2, we have military doing Space Force. Number 3, and they're putting satellites up too. We have big pharma making injections with mystery ingredients by method of unbiblical pharmakia. They are modifying your DNA. Some have been maimed, some have been sterilized, some put 6 feet under, and other whistleblowers have been attacked as well. Many were not informed of the dangers of these injections and experimental injections. That, my friend, is uninformed consent, thereby enacting the Nuremberg trials. This technology can harm with satellites and cell towers. The technology can control people's thoughts, emotions, and the scientists say they can even hack humans now. They do this through frequency and electromagnetic fields and injections. Nanotechnology, they can use the technology with direct energy weapons. But that wasn't on the information that you were given for the JABA. They also putting this technology on water towers, and we've wondered if it's radiating our waters. These are questions we want answered. We have central banking systems now getting ready to install digital currency, and soon they will want you to have a digitalized global digital ID. We have media crazies keeping the info separate. Why do they do this? It's designed that way to keep you from being and seeing what's actually coming, your enslavement. Did you know that the elites and their secret clubs and societies are the ones behind your enslavement? Did you know that their agenda and their plan is that no humans by 2030? The reason, because as humans, you have human rights. Did you know that the Supreme Court said in 2013, if you modify your DNA, you are no longer considered human and therefore have no human rights? The name given to those who have been jabbed and changed DNA is homoborgenesis and are now rendered to being owned by the patent holders. This is why they were chastising in the media those who were unwilling to get the jabs. Also know that the insurance companies may no longer be willing to pay the life insurance on you because of the jab. I also have something to say to the transgender community. Do you also know that there are a few filthy rich elites who are behind your movement as a way to get children to be trans so that you are no longer to populate the U.S.? This is part of the depopulation agenda. If you don't believe it, it's true. They put $424 million into this between 2003 and 2013 to get you and that community to go against everything this country stands for. Why? Well, think about it. It's hard for the trans community to procreate. Therefore, depopulation agendas can happen. So no more army to fight those agendas. Did you know that the LGBTQ plus, because the plus is all for sexual preferences, these elites have their own army building through using people like you guys and gals? What's next? Are we going to allow the black widows and the pedos in? I mean, pass one law after another, and before you know it, the lawlessness is setting in. And the elites have literally wrecked our country and our army with the jabs. And their New World Order agendas just thought I would throw that out there for you. Go research all I have described here in the pillars, the 5 pillars of this, and you'll see what I'm talking about. This agenda is called Smart Grid.
30 seconds.
So steer clear of anything that says smart, green, or sustainable, because it's only sustainable for the elites who wish to enslave you. So you see the journalists you rely on that are not telling you everything. They keep it separated so that you don't see what they're doing to your mind, body, and your soul. It's time for the country to get back to God. And this nation needs that right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Gabriella Chrisman, 138 Rose O'Neill, speaking on police protection.
Thank you very much. This is very important to me because I was in the hospital last night and I got out to come here so I can tell you how I feel. I did try to talk to Marshall, and that's a long story, him and I will talk about it. But because he's my district representative in Clay, I didn't get a hold of you, but I know that you have spoken to me before and I do appreciate you. Okay, what it is, you know that we had that big old storm Sunday night. And I was, I live by myself and I was kind of worried. I walked down the street, and when I was walking down the street in the corner house, there was a young man that lives there. He's had trouble, but anyhow. And he started being vulgar and calling me names and threatening me, and it scared me. And, I was looking to see about the trees, the damage that was done in my neighborhood.
Excuse me, Gabrielle, would you please speak into the mic? There's people listening. If you would just talk into the microphone, please.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
I
thank
don't
you.
know.
Thank you.
I'm Italian, so you
No,
just
we're
have
good.
to,
We're good.
this is what I am. Okay. And anyhow, I was walking down the street, and this young man started yelling at me and screaming at me and calling me names. And I couldn't figure out, so I'm trying to find out what's going on. Well, he started getting abusive, threatening. And I'm 77 years old. And I live by myself, and it is a scary place anymore. It's not like it used to be. Branson is changing every day, and nobody can say that it isn't. And I live by the park, and, so, okay. So when I got down there, I said, stop, And I just walked back up, and I called the police. And I said to the police what was happening, and he came back, and he went down to the young man talking to him, and half a block away, I could hear our policeman and that boy just laughing away about the crazy old lady that lives up the street. Disrespectful as a policeman could be. I don't like it, and I don't care if I am a crazy old lady. I pay his taxes. I pay his salary, and I take care of myself. I'm not on welfare, and, so I was very upset over it. The police was siding with that young man. So as I told you, I'm Italian. So when you're Italian, you get a little bit more nervy. I called the chief, or whatever he is, sergeant. He came up, talked to me. Very nice man, respectful, and everything else. I said, listen to the tapes. Well, he was diplomatic, and he said, I did listen to the tape, and I think it's a little bit of both of you. Well, yeah, it's probably me too, because I was upset, I was scared, and I was nervous. And that young man needs training as a policeman, that we need protection, and they need to respect people, the elders. I don't care if they're policemen or who they are. I have a right to, and he told me I couldn't walk down the street. I had to walk across the street. When did this law ever come to Branson? That I could not walk down the street or couldn't walk on any sidewalk that there is, that I have to walk across the street. The policeman was siding with them and insulted me, and that is elderly abuse. And I don't want to use that card because I don't like it, but by golly, if that's what I have to do, I have to do it. And I do want that man to apologize to me, that policeman, and I want you guys to listen to the tape. And then you can tell me how wrong I am. I am ready to cry, and I haven't slept. I've been in the hospital, and I just got out last night. And if you guys want your parents or anybody threatened that they can't live in their neighborhood because there's a druggist down the street, then, I need help. And he told me, I said, I called the police. He said, the police can't do nothing to me. So he speeds up and down in front of my house just to show me the police can't do anything. And I'm upset. And My time's up, and I want your help.
Gabriella,
you.
thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Kat,
Can I ask her just?
you bet.
Ma-
Gabriella?
Ma'am, do you live on Rose O'Neill down at the end by the park there? Yeah, okay. I thought that's where, yeah, okay. Thank you for sharing.
Kathy, Kathy, would you follow up on this, please? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Eldon Sanderson, 115 Lake Point, speaking on drag queens.
What I wanted to talk about was the drag queen situation. And I know that what you're trying to do is to regulate so that they can't be anywhere and everywhere in the town and keep them in a certain area and keep it organized. But I'm afraid of, in time to come, there's going to be a time when they say, we no longer want to be where we're at down here in downtown Branson now. We want to be out on 76 Main Drag. And if you refuse them, all they're going to do is file discrimination against you, and then they're going to get their way. Once you open this up and allow it to start happening, it's just going to snowball and get worse and worse and worse. I do respect a few places in this town yet. College of the Ozarks, they're standing up and they're putting their foot down. They won't allow dormitories that are boys and girls together. They won't allow boys going in girls' restrooms, and they're not going to put up with it. There's certain things that can be done that we're not doing. We're just allowing it to go on. And it's time that people stand up for their rights. And we all have the right to live the way we want to live. But it can't be infringing on other people's rights too. That's all I got to say, so I won't use much of your minutes.
Eldon, thank you. Hillary, hold on. Eldon, I want to address what you just said. I've had the same message relayed to me over the last couple of weeks from many. And I just want to clarify. If we do not pass this ordinance, nothing will change, which means anywhere in Branson, we can have drag shows. By passing this ordinance, the misconception is this board is allowing and inviting drag shows to come to Branson. This ordinance is not saying, yes, we're allowing it. This ordinance is saying that use is allowed based on our Constitution. We're just putting up some guardrails. I'll tell you, the emails, text, phone calls that I've received have really attacked me to say, if we pass this ordinance, bottom line is I'm going to hell. That's pretty much what the message was. So we have no rules today. The ordinance is not saying this board is supporting to have drag shows all over Branson or in the Strip. This
No, I didn't
ordinance,
say that either.
No, I know. But I just wanted to share that message I've been receiving many, many times. And there's just a misconception out there. So anybody listening, maybe the media will pick this up. It's allowed today with no restrictions anywhere in Branson.
Then we need to put an ordinance in that disallows it.
Well-
Instead of one that is allowing it, ban it. You can do that too.
Well.
Yes, you can.
Okay, the Constitution says we can't. I don't want to get in a debate with you,
Okay.
if you don't mind.
But, you know, another thing that I wanted to bring up and I forgot when I was up here. is last night, we went to watch a TV show, and I'm 82 years old, so I forgot the name of the show already. But anyway, it's a quiz show. And there's a bunch of contestants. They had all drag queens. Every one of them was a drag queen. Of course, I didn't watch it. Right now, I shut it off because I don't believe in that. I think it's a bunch of malarkey. And also on other shows on TV, it's just getting out of hand. And if people don't stand up and put a stop to it, it's going to get worse and worse. On that show, 6:30 at night, Wheel of Fortune, they have queers on there 3 or 4 times a week. And anytime that comes on, I turn the show off. But I like to watch that show, but I hate to see that.
Understand.
So I don't believe in it, and I don't believe that anybody should be forced to have to be involved in it if they don't want to be.
Thank you, Eldon.
Mr. Mayor, point of order. If we could refer from using slurs when addressing this board, I would really appreciate that.
Thank you, Marshall. Madam Clerk.
Your Honor, the next speaker is Vanessa H., Blue Eye, speaking on drag queen issue.
Respected Mayor, Aldermen, and city officials, I've returned to thank you for hearing our plea to protect our kids. We appreciate your amendment of the ordinance, which now does not allow minors to attend drag queen performances at shows or venues. We have since talked with tourists who will not choose Branson for their vacation destination if the city chooses to become like any other entertainment city. Repeatedly, we have heard how they love the God-honoring, family-friendly, veteran-appreciating, kid-safe uniqueness of Branson. Families have even moved to Branson just to get away from such adult entertainment which came into their cities. When locals can make the short drive to Springfield for a doctor's appointment, or to shop at Costco, or to fly out of the Springfield airport, it remains to be answered why we need to bring drag shows and a drag show venue when patrons could just as easily drive to Springfield with a designated driver for the drive home in the wee hours of the morning. Again, decisions do have an eternal impact. Let Branson put the show me in the show me state. Though you cannot please everybody, please lead boldly, bearing your moral responsibility, and please do not be bullied into becoming a victim of blurred freedoms. Thank you.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Our next speaker is Andrew, 141 Turtle Creek, speaking on drag shows.
Well, thank you very much. I know that rumors can often spread faster than the truth, and so I've heard a million different things about this law that's going to be passed, but it does sound like it's one that is definitely needed. We need something on the books. I personally am against drag shows completely, and I would love to see whatever law we could pass, even further than this one, to ban this. I know that a lot of young people agree with me. I talked to a 19-year-old kid that I worked with. He said if drag shows start to be a thing in Branson, that he will leave. So I know we are a conservative generation, and we are rising up, and we will take our country back. We do have freedom in this country, but freedom is not anarchy. Freedom is not the ability to do anything and everything that anyone wants. It is the ability to self-govern, and we do have the ability to place laws. Banning drag shows is not a hateful thing or putting any kind of restrictions on it. What people do in private is their business. It's between them and God. But when it comes to the public square, that does involve us. We make different laws already that control sexual activity. We do not allow public nudity, right? That would not be allowed on the landing. We would not allow people to engage in open sex on the landing. Drag shows are sexual in nature. And this is something that is especially targeted towards attacking children, as we've seen across the country. For some reason, it's always targeted towards children. The enemy, the devil, wants to destroy our kids. They want to sell out their souls. But God's children, the souls of God's children here in Branson are not for sale. I just want to say that your authority here comes from God. All authority in heaven and on earth belong to him, and he gives it to whoever he will. Yes, we elected you, and we expect you to do the will of the people. That is how our government works, but ultimately your authority comes from God. So I would like to remind you all to remember to who you will stand before. There is a phrase that we see on billboards around here, and I think it's a very timely show from Sight and Sound Theater. The phrase is, "For such a time as this." And you have all been placed here for such a time as this. And there are no easy decisions. There was not an easy decision for Esther. But God calls us to stand up in these times and do the impossible, and he will be with us. And I can guarantee you that any lawsuits or threats that come against you, if you're doing the right thing, the people of Branson will back you 100%. Cost is not an issue. We'll pay what it takes. So, anyway, I just want to say, stand for what is right, and I trust that you will make the right decision. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Our next speaker is Rick DeJager, 3238 State Highway 265, speaking on drag.
Evening. I hadn't planned on speaking, but after I saw Mr. Horstman in the audience, I couldn't refuse. It was said in the last meeting by him that religion was not involved in the Constitution in the start. I'm paraphrasing. With the making of the United States. I have a different take on that. Do all of you believe religion was involved in the making of the United States, the Constitution? All of you? I'm disappointed with the estimated 52 churches within a 5-mile radius of Branson. That they're not here and packing the house. I guess they're more interested in the collection plate than they are in what the Bible says. Deuteronomy 22:5, Jude 1, 6 through 7, 1 Corinthians 6 through 9, Isaiah 3, 5, 23, Leviticus 20, verse 13, 2 Corinthians 6, 17, Leviticus 18, 22. This should be our example. These words should be our guide in what we decide and what we do. Mr. Horstman upsets me. Why? Because he's the perfect reason why most of us are extremely uncomfortable. Because he's angry, he's irritating, he's uneducated. Read up on the Bible and what we stand for. You have a tough,
Excuse me, Nate. Nate, if you keep sharing, I'm going to ask you to leave the room. Do you hear me?
You have an extremely difficult position as city representatives. I believe in what you are capable of doing. I believe what you're on the right path. I support each and every one of you in all your endeavors. But I think we still need to pay attention to what the Lord has to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Madam Clerk.
Our final speaker is Gary Groman, 350 South Wildwood, speaking on drag queen.
Signed up, I wasn't really sure I was going to speak, but if I misspeak, I'm 82 years old, and I'm going to take that elderly bit. I think that'll work. First of all, this ordinance isn't against, quote, drag queens. It talks about drag shows. And it doesn't even talk about 95% of the drag shows. It talks about the 5% of the drag shows that have a specific content in it that you wouldn't want in a drag show or any other show. I have friends in the LGBT community. I've been privileged to work with them. I served with them in the Marine Corps. I mean, they're part of this community. This is about regulating a specific type of drag show. And that specific type of drag show is defined in the ordinance. And the very thing that lady said, as far as that sexual content, that's what makes this so unique and so restrictive. It was very well crafted. I've got to give it to our attorney. I imagine he wasn't very thrilled having to do it, but he did a tremendous job. We might be going to a gunfight, but we're not going with a knife. We're going with a lever action 94. We at least got a chance. This ordinance does not bring drag shows to Branson. They've been in Branson ever since I know. Terry Sanders, it's not a drag show, it's a drag act, but we can go to all sorts of different things. Wonderful entertainment. They've been here for years. This ordinance doesn't prohibit that. The day after this ordinance is passed, you and I, could start the Groman, Aldermen, Branson family drag show, and nothing could stop it. It's going to be like any other show. Now, if somebody wants to say that we're in violation, they're going to have to come in and prove it. And let me tell you, as restrictive as this ordinance has been written, it's going to be a rather serious violation of what we want in our entertainment for it to happen. My personal belief is there'll be one case brought in this. The city brings the case, and it'll be the first one, and it'll probably be the last one. But if we win, that's it. If we lose, that's it. Do I want to see the city waste money? No. Do I think you're wasting money? No. If we're sued, that's my opinion, 90 cents of every dollar could be marketing, because we're fighting to defend that faith, family, and flag that we talk about. I mean, we can talk about it, but when it comes time to do something, we got to do something. We're not prohibiting drag shows. We're prohibiting a particular type of show. We're not permitting drag shows to come into Branson. They've always been here, and a lot of these people that complain and say they're not going to come back, they've been to the same shows I've been to. They've seen them, and they have no problem. We're prohibiting a specific type of show, a type of show that, in my opinion, should be prohibited. Not all drag shows. So don't get sucked into. We're not bringing drag shows into town. They're already here. They've been here. We're trying to restrict the drag shows. Would I like to see it? Once we stop the expansion, we have this restriction in place. Would I like to see some other changes made? Yes, and I think they will logically follow. But you've got to do something to regulate the type of show you don't want. Questions?
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Gary.
A few more points of clarification I'd like to make on responses I've had over the last couple weeks. Mr. Glencho's is grandfathered in. they're allowed. I had many people contact me concerned about Mr. Glenshow's. And I just want to lay it out there that Mr. Glenshow's is not affected. I've also had several ask me about the business that I own down at Branson Landing. Oh, yeah, and I heard that what the mayor wants to do is eliminate all competition so my business can master this. Anybody hear that? I heard it. Yeah. Problem is, my business in Branson Landing is not in this district. I hate to confuse all the rumors with facts. So this ordinance is not going to benefit me. It doesn't affect Branson Landing, and I do not have an intention of dominating this industry, for the record. Before we move on, just a little house cleaning. Oh, I should talk about this after our consent. On our consent agenda is, tonight, is starting next meeting, if we have people sign up for public comment, that's 10 or more, we're going to be limiting the speaking time from 5 minutes down to 3 minutes. So I noticed a few people tonight had prepared speeches that lasted 5 minutes. I just wanted to give a fair heads up on that. So next is the consent agenda. Are there any items the board would like to have moved down from the consent agenda to ask additional questions or comments? I think, are you following along?
Sorry, I am now. I'd like item number 6 to be removed from the consent agenda and placed at the first item on the regular agenda, Mayor.
Okay.
I also would like number 2 pulled down.
Okay. So Madam Clerk, with those 2 exceptions, would you please read the items on the consent agenda as amended?
Your Honor, the items on the consent agenda are as follows. Approval of the Board of Aldermen minutes for the July 13th, 2023 special meeting, July 25th, 2023 special meeting, and July 25th, 2023 regular meeting. Final reading of Bill Number 6336, an ordinance approving, excuse me, a zoning change from low-density residential LDR to entertainment ENT for the property located at 511 Dr. Good Drive, Branson, Missouri. Final reading of Bill Number 6337, an ordinance approving a public service agreement by and between the City of Branson, Missouri and the Spirit of America Art Museum Incorporated for the increase in tourism and the honor of first responders and veterans, and authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement on behalf of the city to ensure the presentation of the Wall of Honor for the week of Veterans Day. Final reading of Bill Number 6339, an ordinance approving the addendum with Gravy Administrative Services, LLC, for employee benefit insurance coverages and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract. And final reading of Bill Number 6341, an ordinance to establish a procedure to disclose potential conflicts of interest and substantial interest for certain officials. Your Honor, that concludes the reading of the consent agenda.
Thank you. So do I have a motion approving all items on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, would you provide a roll call vote, please?
Fenton?
Yes.
Denham?
Yes.
Cooper?
Yes.
Howden?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
LeBlanc? Yes. The result of the vote is 6-0. Motion carries. Your Honor, the next item is the final reading of Bill Number 6335, an ordinance amending Sections 94-5, 94-60, and 94-62 of the Branson Municipal Code pertaining to drag shows.
Alderman Rodriguez?
I would recommend a motion and second to put it on the floor prior to discussion.
Thank you. I have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Alderman Rodriguez, what would you like to discuss?
First and foremost, we all took an oath to uphold the Constitution. We sit up here before our meetings. We do the Pledge of Allegiance. In the Pledge of Allegiance, it's and to the Republic, and it's to the flag, and we are a constitutional republic. In that Constitution, we have the First Amendment, which allows freedom of expression. This ordinance, as it's been told by Gary Groman there, it doesn't prevent drag shows. All it does is talk about the explicit part. But we already have an adult entertainment ordinance that covers explicit material. So this does nothing. Anybody can have a drag show. Once it becomes explicit, it falls underneath the adult entertainment. I've been reached out to a lot of people on this issue, a lot of veterans especially. And we claim to be the most patriotic city. I've had a lot of veterans and their groups say that they won't visit here if we're going to infringe on the Constitution. It's just, we're not the most patriotic city if we do that. Man, I sure hate to see something pass that's led by just a mob of people that come down here, you know. I've heard from a lot of citizens that just say, leave it alone. I mean, there's drag shows have been going on here forever, and the 15 to 20, 30 people that attend them once or twice a year, they're not hurting anybody. I don't see drag queens walking down the street. The only time I've ever seen them walk down the street is when the Paddle Wheel had that event for HBO. I've never seen them since. Like the gentleman said about the TV, when he sees people on Wheel of Fortune that he doesn't agree with, he shuts off the TV. We do not have to go to these events. I'm not a drag show supporter. I've never been. Will probably never go. It's not my thing. I have the right to not go. I don't have the right to pick winners and losers and say what businesses can hold what events. And as a government, we shouldn't be doing that. We shouldn't pick winners and losers. It's not our right. And with everything that you say is grandfathered in, shows that already have going on, I mean, what's to stop a drag show from coming and renting one of these venues, and like RuPaul coming in and renting it? So when we pass this, we're going to get national attention, and we're going to get sued. And we took an oath to uphold the Constitution and do what's right for this city and to protect the city. Passing an ordinance that does basically nothing is not protecting the city. It's putting us in for a lawsuit. I've had people, Cody's had people reach out to him too about downtown. We're getting phone calls and emails and stuff from people saying they will never shop downtown. So we're hurting our businesses downtown. They raise struggle. It's hard to get around down there. It's hard to park. And we're hurting these businesses. So that's all I got. I just can't believe we're doing this.
Thank you. Any other aldermen have any comments? Marshall?
The Supreme Court has ruled that cities can zone strip clubs by adding in the sexual component and being very strong with that. This falls into that category. The reason that it doesn't fall into our current adult entertainment definition is because that only has to do with the removal of clothes. And yet, we've all seen the pieces on the news. There are drag shows, not all of them, there are drag shows in this country where there is not a removal of clothes, but there is certainly a sexual component. The last thing is, no one owns the definition of a drag show, and we're not doing Merriam-Webster definitions here. When a city zones something, the definition is defined in the code as to what we're calling drag shows. What we are calling drag shows includes the sexual component. It's not, I take T-Roy and them at their word, that they told their queens that that's not allowed sexual, right? So that's what I have to say, just to speak against some of the falsehoods that I've heard.
Thank you. Any other aldermen want to share?
Well, I'm good. No, I mean, I supported this. When this all first came about, and I know we wrestled with this a lot back there, in executive, and I mean, and everybody had their opinions about this and this and that. I mean, obviously, I would never be, you can't, like you said, you can't pick winners and losers. I don't think we're doing that. I mean, I don't have anything against these guys. I mean, I'm in the entertainment business, okay? I'm around, I mean, they're just people, just like like my brother-in-law or whoever. So when it was addressed to me that we're not trying to shut this down. We're just trying to regulate it to keep it in a certain area so that they don't pop up, next door to the Presleys or across the street from the fair, where all the family-friendly, fun tourists that come to Branson with their 8-year-old and their 10-year-old and their 12-year-old in the car, and they look up and see a drag queen on a big flashing billboard on the strip. And again, I have nothing against it. I went to one in Vegas on my 21st birthday. I thought they were women. I was wrong. Some of them look pretty good, I'll just be honest. But anyhow, so I think by I'm for regulating it so that it stays off of 76 where the families and everybody come and what brings the traffic here. And I'd be afraid that if one popped up, another one popped, and then all of a sudden we got Presley's drag show, Grand Jubilee drag show, Clay Cooper Theater drag show, Ferris wheel drag, I don't know. I mean, that's probably far-fetched, but you never know. So never in a million years banning it has never crossed my mind, or it was even a thought. But I did like the thought of, from what I heard from all the outpour, of regulate it to one section. And then when Dick's Five and Dine came up and said, well, why you put it in our area? Then I was like, well, and I get why. I understand why. Because of the ordinance and the way it reads with the adult entertainment. Would it have been nice, and I talked to Cody about this today, about, would it have been nice if the ordinance said allowed everywhere except the 76 strip, so that you're not really saying it's there, or it's got to be there, it's got to be there. It can be anywhere except from IHOP to the CVS on the 76 strip. I would have liked that better. That's not where we're at. That's all I have to say.
Cody?
Well, and I think that's kind of the irony of this, right? Because I feel like, and this is why anybody that was here last week or 2 weeks ago that saw how I voted, I feel like a vote in favor of this is basically saying, well, downtown doesn't have those same values as anywhere else on the Strip. And I know that's not what you're saying, and I know that's not necessarily what we're saying on paper, but sort of behind the scenes, that's what's being said, right? And so, the irony is, Meadows is probably the most reasonable place for this to be, because it's not on the Strip, it's not downtown, it's not, in the direct tourism place, if that's the concern. And so instead, we're saying, well, no, it's to be expected downtown, and we expect to see this type of entertainment downtown. And I just think that
It's not a downtown like Chicago. I mean, it's a different kind of downtown.
right, and I think that was kind of Steve's point and my point and some of our other points was to say, our downtown's, kind of unique in that it's not like, other downtowns. And so I think if you step back, the fact that adult entertainment is zoned down there is perhaps problematic and should be looked at. So I personally feel like there was the desire to address this situation, and it was done quickly and not, maybe there was a different way we could have done it. So, like Clay, I think, if there was a different approach to this that would have been brought, I would have looked differently at it. But to say, well, this is appropriate downtown because, they're used to live entertainment and this type of activity, I just, as a Ward 2 alderman, and that being part of my ward, I think that's not the appropriate place either, personally.
Ruth?
I'd just like to say, I've heard from a multitude of constituents in my ward and outside of my ward. And the reason I'm sitting right here is because they believed me when I said I would fight for what I would fight for. I think the huge piece of the puzzle that we're missing here is for the last 25 to 30 years, there has been an ordinance on the books allowing adult entertainment in the downtown zoning district. Did any of us up here have anything to do with it? No. But here we are today. So I feel it is extremely appropriate to mirror the adult entertainment with this ordinance. I think this ordinance is a step in the right direction, listening to what our community wants. And I very strongly support our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. Anybody else? Hearing no, sorry. We're at the stage to vote, so Hillary, you want to do a roll call vote?
Yes, please.
Yep.
Fenton.
No.
Denham.
Yes.
Cooper.
Yes.
Howden.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
No.
LeBlanc.
Yes.
So the result of the vote is 4-2, the ayes being Denham, Cooper, Howden, and LeBlanc, and the nays being Fenton and Rodriguez. Motion carries.
Thank you. On to item 6.
All right, Your Honor, the next item is the final reading of Bill Number 6340, an ordinance amending Chapter 2 of the Branson Municipal Code pertaining to public comment, addressing the board, decorum, and meeting journal.
You've heard the final reading of Bill 6330. Do you have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We'll get a staff report from Hillary.
Yes, so during the first reading of the item, the board requested an amendment be made regarding the prohibition of signs in the council chambers. And so this proposed amendment has been drafted and is displayed on the screen. If you're happy with that language, we just need a motion to get that in the ordinance. It's in red.
Okay, who's playing around?
What's happening?
So, Hillary, is this section where we were to include the speakers, more than 10 speakers is limited?
That's a few sections ahead of that. It's all in
Okay.
the same area of code. This is the decorum piece.
Okay, so is there, board members okay with the addition in red and the strikeouts?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
So we're a musical city. We've done a lot of great things, proclamations. In fact, today is Mel Tillis Day. I would hate, yes. I would hate to do anything that didn't allow us to have some of the amazing performances that we've had by the Petersons, the gentleman who sang the Faith song about, I get distraction. You could say that's not, but boy, I'd still like to carve out something for musical instruments so we could still have some kind of song and dance here if we felt it appropriate at times.
So, Joe, the way this is worded, if that occasion came up, with the approval of the mayor or the board, could we allow such an occurrence?
Mayor, while it's not stated in the ordinance itself, because the board is who sets these rules, the board would have the ability to waive it temporarily in a certain circumstance. I would caution the board to be careful in making exceptions, because every time you make an exception, you have the potential for having a discrimination issue pop up. But because this board sets the rules, this board has the ability to waive the rule for a particular meeting or for a particular issue.
Personally, Larry, if anybody came up to this podium and had any message to share, this may sound silly and frivolous, but if they sang it with a guitar, I think that's their 5 minutes to, express what they want to do, however they want to express it, So I couldn't see applying this in a picking and choosing type of way. But anyway, I hear what he's saying, and I think it's probably fine based on where we're at, so.
Marshall, the other side of that is, we also, I feel strongly that whoever's addressing during public comment really needs to address things that affect the city and things that we can do. If we allowed everybody with a guitar to come up here, we will be sitting here until tomorrow. Fair?
5 minutes.
A lot of guitars in Branson.
Yeah.
Any other comments on this? We're ready for a vote?
We need somebody to make the motion, so an amendment. So you have a motion second on the floor on the final reading, and we need to have an amendment made.
A motion for the amendment. Go ahead, Ralph.
Your Honor, I move to amend Bill number 6340 as follows. In section 2-76 by adding as a third sentence, no person shall bring or display signs or other props causing a distraction while in council chambers, and adding the following sentence, displays signs or props after or slanderous remarks.
We need a second.
Oh, second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote?
Yes, please. So this is on the amendment. Fenton?
Yes.
Denham? Yes. Cooper?
Yes.
Howden?
Yeah.
Hey.
Rodriguez? Yes. LeBlanc?
Yes.
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries. And now we need to vote on the bill as amended, whenever you're ready.
Do you want to do a roll call vote on that?
I do want to do a roll call vote.
Okay.
Okay. Fenton?
Yes.
Denham?
Yes.
Cooper?
Yes.
Howden?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
LeBlanc?
Yes.
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries. Your Honor, the next item is a presentation of Chamber of Commerce 2024 draft marketing plan and proposed budget.
We'll begin with a presentation from Rachel.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Mayor and Board of Aldermen, thank you for having me here tonight to present the initial draft of the 2024 marketing plan, which is the first year of a new 3-year strategic plan for 2024 through 2026. Before we dive into the presentation, I would just like to start out by saying how much we appreciate the positive working relationship that we have developed with Kathy Stepp over the last 6 months. While I realize our organizations have not always been on the same page in the past, I can confidently say we hear you and are listening to your feedback given to us through Kathy and the team. We meet bi-weekly to ensure that we are collaborating in a way to achieve your desired results. Her clear and concise direction have been invaluable during this process, and I just want to say thank you, Kathy Stepp. That being said, I'm really excited to give you a quick update on Ozark Mountain Christmas. We're working quickly to, I'm going to pull this down just a little bit. We are working quickly to get the new City of Branson Christmas spot completed, which will include all of our live music shows, faith, family, flag, and fun. In the meantime, today, I have some digital and social creative assets to show you as examples of some of the ads that we'll be running specifically for the City of Branson. But first, I'm going to give an overall Christmas update.
Press down, Rachel.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there a delay?
No, I got you.
Okay. I'm pressing down. Oh, a little bit of a delay. Okay, here we go. So currently, we're running fly-in units on our website and targeting consumers searching for Christmas with digital ads. So I just want you to know, as of about 3 weeks ago, we started, basically what fly-in units means is we have, when you come to explorebranson.com, we have a pop-up that comes up and says, plan your Christmas vacation, or 10 things you can do in Branson this year, those types of things. And then we're targeting our consumers that are searching for Christmas with digital ads. So we will launch our full digital and social campaign for Ozark Mountain Christmas beginning on Labor Day. Our TV campaign will begin on October 1st and run through January 7th. So we bumped that up a few weeks earlier to address some concerns about it not starting early enough. In the process of that, what we did is we're doing less fall and more Christmas. Those markets that we're doing that marketing in are St. Louis, Kansas City, Springfield, the Pittsburgh-Joplin area, Tulsa, Little Rock, Oklahoma City, and Northwest Arkansas markets. In all of those ads, we're promoting businesses within the city of Branson. We're including Ozark Mountain Christmas in all the Christmas advertising for City of Branson, and we're specifying the dates November 1st through January 7th. So here's a sample of some ads you might see on some of our social media channels. So here you can see our live music shows on the left, and then our faith example on the right, showing that manger scene at Christmas at the Dutton Show. Here are some Facebook and Instagram sample ads. We tried to incorporate as much as we could, not only the fun there with Clay and the Santa Claus, but red, white, and blue from the Christmas Wonderland show. Our live music shows there with the Duttons, and then an additional manger scene showing faith. Same thing here. This is a carousel campaign, but it just shows more opportunities there for promoting Ozark Mountain Christmas. These are some samples for TripAdvisor. And here are some samples for some digital display. So these are just a sampling of some of the creative that we'll be doing. And once again, just a reminder, this will be starting on September 4th, I think it is, Labor Day. So does anybody have any questions about Christmas before I get into the marketing plan?
Mr. Mayor. Rachel, I'm going to ask sort of maybe a rhetorical question, but I'm getting to a point. Every time that I've seen Ozark Mountain Christmas, we also see America's Christmas Tree City kind of right there in the same paragraph. It's usually something like, come to Ozark Mountain Christmas to see America's Christmas Tree City. So I understand that was a push. This board passed a proclamation that said, our official title of our Christmas season is Ozark Mountain Christmas. What is the reasoning, I guess, that America's Christmas Tree is also put on that same level as the moniker that the board passed?
So I think if you go back and look at this site as it exists now, you'll see a lot less of that than you did before. That being said, that group, part of the reason that they formed is to get more Christmas lights all across the community, not just in certain, areas of the community. So some of their efforts to really get more lighting on 76 and downtown have really come to fruition. And one of the things that we hear all the time from our PR efforts and those people that we work with is there needs to be some kind of hook, or there needs to be some kind of tagline that really gets a writer at the Chicago Tribune to write about Branson. And for several years, that hook had been America's Christmas Tree City. So I think that honestly, Marshall, you'll see that is not the case as much as it was. I think in the beginning, just trying to, we're in this situation kind of in the middle of trying to please a lot of different organizations. And so I think if you look now, you'll be surprised at how little you see that.
Right, I get it. And, the program still exists, and we're still trying to get Christmas trees, I get it. But as far as that tagline and things, the board has expressed that tagline that we want is Ozark Mountain Christmas.
I can assure you that there is nothing that we send out to any of our PR media that doesn't say Ozark Mountain Christmas.
Right.
I want to highly compliment you.
Thank you.
When I saw this deck and went through it, In my one opinion, I think you were spot on.
Thank you, Larry.
I do. I think that's the message that I've been hearing from this board for some time. High compliments.
Thanks, I appreciate that. Like I said, once again, it's really been helpful to have a person, designated person to go to that hears from you all, that really gets that message across, and then she can really articulate that to us and we can deliver exactly what you're looking for.
You talking about Miss Kathy Stepp?
I am, yeah.
Just want to make sure that we all knew who we were talking about, Ms. Stepp. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Not really a question, just a comment, and just to kind of piggyback on what the mayor said, I'm just happy to see the creative, because we've been promised before, and it kind of fell on deaf ears, and it was kind of a concern that I had with this presentation today, and when I seen the deck, I was like, finally, we're at least going to get an idea of what message is pushed out there, and this is really what we've been wanting the whole time. It's, you know, it's one thing to conceptually talk about it, but when we can see what, you know, the message that we want let out there that's actually come to fruition and we can actually visibly see it, that's powerful good. So thank you so much for
Great,
bringing
happy
that
to
forward.
hear.
Yeah.
Are you guys ready to go into the plan?
Oh, and thank Kathy too. Sorry.
So I just want to give a little bit of background behind the plan. So last year, we were eligible for marketing platform development grants from the Missouri Division of Tourism. We're a large enough destination that we had never been eligible for those grants before, but because they saw that some of the, they had some extra tourism money, and they saw that some of the bigger DMOs were wanting to do some really big things to elevate their marketing, they allowed us for 1 year to be eligible for those. There were 9 grants, and we applied for all 9 grants, and we received all 9 grants, and they were for $100,000 each. So one of those grants went to pay for a strategic marketing plan for the destination. So I'm going to give you guys all have in your packet the entire plan. That is a starting point. That is the first draft. We can customize that. I think there's been some discussion about a study session. Happy to do that to get it to where you want. This is early, the earliest we've ever gotten anything to you guys. So we have plenty of time to get it to where you want it to be. And so I just wanted to let you know, this is an overview. The strategies that we talk about, there's lots of tactics underneath that we can specify what you guys are wanting to see. So I just want to make you aware of that it's just this is an overview just to get us started. So our top feeder markets, according to research, are the top feeder markets and social and digital media campaigns will run in all the listed markets below. Those underlined below will have traditional TV campaigns as well. So you can see these are our main feeder markets according to all of our research and our DMAs. So I'll just let you look at all of those different ones and know that the ones that are underlined are the ones that we're doing television in. The rest of them are markets that we are doing heavy digital in. So for example, you're gonna see Chicago and Dallas in that 301 to 650 mile radius. Those 2 markets specifically, while we would love to be doing television in those, they are just too expensive for us to make that investment overall. We would have to take our entire TV buy if we wanted to do Dallas and not do the other things. So I just want you to know that we do have a very heavy digital and social presence in those markets. But that being said, we have an overall national campaign for digital and social too. It's not just these markets listed, but these are where we're pulling people from the most and where we're concentrating on, if that makes sense. And then our overall target focus in our marketing plan is women ages 35 to 54, families and first-time visitors to Branson, while also appealing to our core repeat visitors. Our spring and fall empty nester target focus is women ages 45 plus, couples and singles traveling without children. So what are those overarching strategies that we're looking at? We want to build Branson brand momentum, present Branson as today's ideal experience for family values, fun, faith, and flag through an integrated marketing approach, leveraging advertising, digital marketing, activations, and public relations. We want to focus on the core product, live shows, family fun, and outdoor adventure as the core drivers of revenue and extended stays, while also showcasing Branson's key strengths as a destination. And one that's I know I've been passionate about, and I know Larry's been passionate about as well, is expanding the traveler base. So harvesting those first-time visitors to get them to Branson, to put Branson on a positive trajectory for the future, with a strategic focus on younger families, expanded geography, and a customized approach to reach and attract travelers in all 4 seasons. And before you say anything about this, it's 5 seasons. I realize that. We have 4 seasons and then Christmas. And then finally, just explore next. So what does that mean? Things like, how is AI going to affect us in the future? How are new emerging technologies going to affect us? So those are things that we'll be identifying as next steps. And when we look at marketing strategies specifically, these were the main strategies. There were lots of tactics and things underneath those strategies, but develop integrated marketing campaigns delivered through precision targeting to motivate first-time visitors and encourage repeat visitation. Secondly, to maintain and build owned assets to increase brand reach, relevancy, and engagement through multiple customer touchpoint or consumer touchpoints. And finally, in marketing strategies to execute and utilize first and third-party consumer industry research to adjust and or further develop the demographic and psychographic composite of our desired target and geographic areas, creating messaging around visitation driving assets and inform timing of activations and paid advertising. PR specifically, we're going to generate positive coverage of the Branson area in all of our regional and national media outlets. By leveraging those media relationships through collaboration with outside partners to strategically target outlets with messaging germane to their focus or specialty. So we work with 4 outside PR agencies that really get us those big stories. So when you see those USA Todays, those Chicago Tribunes, those New York Times, those just don't happen. Lynn Berry on our team goes aggressively after all of those. And we do work with McGuckin PR, which is based, she's based out of Austin, Texas, and she works a lot with Austin city limits. She has brought us, she handles our live music and show entertainment. She's in a market multiple times. She's gotten us over 100 live appearances on TV and radio in the last year with our local Branson performers in our music shows. So we have really elevated what we're doing in the PR efforts for our live music shows. And then Mindy Bianca, that handles our attraction side. She's just fantastic on all the things that she's gotten us over the years. She kind of covers Branson as a whole. And then Larry Whiteley, if you don't know him, he's been in this area for a long time writing about all things outdoors, and he's nationally known, and we're really lucky to have him. And then our Dan Shepard with golf. He has got us a lot of those big golf hits that we see nationally. And then the other strategy for public relations is to generate media relations to support and amplify paid media efforts to create a fully integrated marketing campaign. And then our sales strategies for meetings and conventions, group leisure travel, and sports are to increase the economic impact driven by meetings, leisure groups, and sports event tournament sales to the city of Branson. We want to expand that brand awareness and perception among all of our group planners and position Explore Branson as an industry leader in digital technologies. So those are the overall main strategies. And then I put together an initial budget. We don't have an exact number yet, but based on what we had last year, I just rounded that off to $4 million. And so you'll see here how we budgeted out those initial dollars. And really at this point, we don't have a budget put together yet for the Tourism Community Enhancement District. So it's kind of hard. I know these are going to shift and pivot, these numbers, as we talk about them. But that being said, this is the breakdown that we have for that now. 400,000 in dues and sponsorships, 3,405,000 in media, 75,000 in public relations, and 120,000 in trade shows and conferences to get to that 4 million. That's something that also, like the marketing plan, I would like to have some discussions on that to see how that money, that you guys see how that money, how you want that money to be placed and in what mediums.
Rachel, a few questions on the budget.
Yep.
There's 305,000 in there for creative, and that is out of the city's portion of the tourism tax. Do you know what the total amount of creative is?
So typically the amount, like last year, I'll just use last year as an example, and I'm not going to say that's what's going to be this year by any means. But we have had some additional creative costs to go back and do some of this additional, the additional TV spots and the additional digital, we've obviously had some additional creative there. That being said, last year it was around 700,000, 600,000 probably on the TCD side, and about 250 to 300 on the city side.
Okay.
Estimated.
Yeah. And so, and I know you don't have it yet.
Okay.
But what we'll be very interested in seeing is a real detailed breakdown, line item breakdown.
Okay.
What I want to avoid is some of the miscommunications we've had this year. And for example, when the example I always fall back on is Ozark Mountain Christmas. It's like when that'll start playing. And so if we had those breakdowns, then I think we'll keep our communication healthier throughout the year.
Yeah, and I think that we can, like I said, just to start, but I think we can get to exactly what you guys want to get to. Other questions? That's the end of my presentation.
Few things. On the marketing plan,
Okay.
when I read that, that seemed to me to be the marketing plan for the TCED, not necessarily the marketing plan for the city. There were numerous mentions in there of affecting the Branson Lakes area.
So I think the idea is that we can do this one of two different ways. We could go at it an approach where, this was just for the destination itself, just overall, how we're looking at it holistically. I think what we can do, though, is sit down with this first draft, and then we can draft it specifically for the city, so the city has their own plan. Like if you said to me, you're not interested in doing, you're not going to say this, but I'm just saying this because they're here right now, but say you didn't want to be a part of Cal Ripken World Series, which you wouldn't say that.
Which we don't.
But say you didn't. We would leave that out. We would leave that out of that plan. You see what I'm saying? So we could very much customize that to whatever you guys are looking for to make sure that we are all very clear about what the expectations are.
That would be great.
And if we're clear with what the expectations are, we can deliver exactly what you want.
Yeah. And in that more clear plan, I would like to see language in there about the Branson city limits. That language is in our contract.
Okay.
It says the draft marketing plan shall include the contractor's proposed marketing, advertising, promotion, and fulfillment plan for the next calendar year, which demonstrates to the satisfaction of the city that substantially all the tourism promotion account dollars will be productively used to market, advertise, and promote the city and the objectives outlined in the section titled Scope of Services. And Scope of Services, just real quickly, says the city engages the services of the contractor to direct and carry out a destination marketing program for the city to enhance tourism inside the geographic limits of the city. So having some of that in this new plan, and I think that'll be a very healthy study session, right?
Absolutely, and that'll be the next step, is to just really go through the contract with a fine-tooth comb and make sure everything that's listed in the contract is also listed in the new marketing plan. We just got this delivered to us last week, so it's been presented twice. So it's very, it's very fresh and new.
So these are just high-level things that we
Right.
can put our next one.
Right.
Inserting faith, family, flag, fun. Inserting Ozark Mountain Christmas. And so generally speaking, what I hear from this board is it's unhealthy to even think about having two different marketing plans and two different budgets, right? There's going to be so much more value in having it consolidated. So what I'm hearing from the board is if the TCED would come up with a marketing plan with their $10 million for the district, which includes the city limits, and then the mindset is then overlay on top of what that plan is to target more of the theaters, attractions, museums, the things to do that are in Branson. Same messaging, so we're not looking at different messaging. If TC doesn't feel comfortable with the faith, family, flag, I know they like the fun. If they don't like the faith, family, flag portion, then that's their decision to make, right? So our, quote, overlay would include more of that, if that makes sense. I look forward to a study session. I'm hoping we can get that coordinated fairly soon there, Kathy?
Definitely.
Okay. Done with your presentation,
I am. Any other questions?
board? Questions, comments?
I just want to say thank you for all the effort that's going into it, because I know what we're asking is unique, never, the two unique marketing things specific to City of Branson, and it can't be easy because, and it's the unknown, you've never done it. So it takes a lot of thought, and I'm sure it's a struggle, but I know I appreciate the effort that you put into it, and I'm excited to see new images and music, live music shows on the forefront. So I think that's what we've been kind of complaining and missing for the last several years. So thank you.
Thank you, Clay.
Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
Rachel, thank you. And I was pretty pleased with your presentation. In fact, almost to the point where I could have written it myself, maybe with the exception, I still don't think October 1st is early enough for Christmas, but that's maybe a discussion for another day. But there's two sides to this. The first part is hearing it, and then the second part is kind of the implementation. And so we'll remain vigilant on that side and just make sure that all these things are, come to fruition and things like that. Because, I appreciate having faith, family, flag in there. There's been some derisive comments thrown around, that kind of thing about that might not be where we want to go. So this is step one. I'm so excited about it, and then I'm really excited about step two as well.
Great.
Hey, Marshall, I will say I was at Disney last week, and the first thing I saw when I walked up to Magic Kingdom was a bunch of big pumpkins. Late July.
Yeah.
So.
There you go. Chuck, anything? No, Ralph? So Ralph has nothing to say.
Oh, right. I'm sorry.
No, actually, well, I just think it's so funny, like the uniqueness of we're talking about, marketing within the city, and I'm going to use Clay, you as an example, and even what is it? The new magician that just came to town, like Clay's getting
Antonio.
Yeah, Antonio, like that got some national appeal. Like, how do you guys do you guys have a plan to utilize like the national reach that had, because that's been on everything nationally. Like, holy smokes, cool attention. And then Clay gets inducted in the, Country Music Hall of Fame in Texas. Like, that happens almost weekly with some entertainer in our community. And I think it's important that we consider highlighting those things as part of that marketing plan, because again, it is what gets people to drive here. And whether you like it or not, that live entertainment component of what we do in Branson is that important. And everything outside of that is just the ancillary fun things that get to happen when you come here. So I look forward to the second step in this, because I think that's just the collaboration between the thoughts that we have and what you guys bring to it. I think could be really, really amazing and really positive moving forward.
That's a good point. Do you guys have somebody, or is that the responsibility of each venue that's having these type of acts to say, hey, we have this thing coming in? Well, like when Bradshaw, when he started working my theater about 4 years ago, NFL Network and HBO was at my building for 10 days, filming a live HBO special on four-time Super Bowl champion, Pro Football Hall of Famer on Fox Sunday Football for the last 3 decades. And I called Jason, I said, hey, can we get, oh yeah, but I'm just like, that's thing, not just because it's at my theater, there's a lot of things that, like you say, that pop in here and there that are big outside of Branson that could help draw attention to us that I feel like we could latch on to better. But maybe that, I reached out to Jason, but maybe they don't, they got a lot going on, maybe they don't, maybe that's the responsibility of each of us venue owners to say, hey, just thought you might want to know, Bradshaw's doing 10 shows here this year, and he's on Fox Sunday, and he's tweeting on it, and he has all these followers. And I mean, I feel like, and this, the magician, major, I mean, we should try to attach the name Branson to anything we can with him and use that. So maybe, I mean, is that our
I would just
responsibility?
say, yeah, don't assume we know, because
Yeah,
there's
right.
a lot of things going on, and
I
we're
know.
trying to do all things
Right.
for everybody. So don't assume we know. Always feel free to, I think most of you have my cell phone number. I mean, feel free to just
Right.
call me and say, hey, this is happening.
Yeah.
El Mago Pop, I think their third day here, way before they ever did the first show, they came and sat down with me at my office, and we talked through what they were going to do. I hated it. I was out of town whenever they did their opening or their preview show. I heard it was amazing. But yeah, we have plans to help them out in the future and to get that word out there that we have this, global act in our community. So, but yeah, don't assume we know, and don't assume that, I always say this all the time, and, I have a podium here to say it. Don't assume we have all your imagery, your video, like any of that. We're always begging people to send. We can only use and utilize what we've shot ourselves or what we've been given. So it's always great when we can get new assets and get new ideas from our community members.
Right, and that's what, like Clay, you said, this is different than what's been done before, and it is, and change is hard, and we understand that, but that's the thing, it's like, it has to be that collaboration, like, Clay's Theater has to be responsible for getting that content out to you so you guys can push it out, and every other venue too. They've never had that before, or even had that kind of, I guess, liberty to even assume that they could do it, and I think this is what brings that to mind and brings it to the forefront. And that's why I think it's amazing that you guys have really, this presentation and even moving forward with the study session, I think that's where we get to those ideas, and that's where, because if they understand what they have to do and what you're gonna do with it, it makes it a less of a heavy lift for everyone, and that's what we want. We want to maximize the dollars that we have to get as much reach as we can, so making it easy for you would be incumbent on the theaters to do that. But again, Clay Cooper, Country Music Hall of Fame in Texas, I mean,
So
it's a
Friday,
huge deal.
is it Friday or Saturday?
Saturday.
Congratulations, I wasn't aware, Clay.
See you there?
I wasn't aware.
Because I didn't tell you, I guess. No.
So Rachel, in this example, Clay will get to you the information.
We want to talk about it.
He's been inducted into the Texas Country Music Hall of Fame. That's a big deal.
It's just me and Kenny Rogers and Hank Williams, it's not,
Bob Wheels.
not Bob Wills, not that big of a deal, but whatever. It's okay.
Clay, will you or have Tina send me some information about that?
We probably have some things laying around. I could shoot you.
But I just want to throw in there, in all fairness, because I know we have regimes change and things like that.
Can I sing a song real quick? Is that
Please,
against the rules?
please.
I'm just
Against the rules.
But what I do want to say is that Clay did say that he had reached out in the past. So again, different regimes, things have changed, but just wanted to kind of note that point so it doesn't get lost, that you did reach out, but in the future, we're going to have better communication. So.
And Rachel, you have
I feel
everything
like we
from...
already do.
Yeah.
Yeah. You already have what you need from Antonio, Imago Pop.
So yes, we've got everything that they have developed so far. Yes.
Did you see that Good Morning America, his show?
The blurb did he send you a little video about it?
A video?
Yeah.
When he
yeah.
made people go from
Yes,
here
I
to
did.
there?
It was awesome.
Or
Yeah.
Today's Show, I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah.
Huge, right? And so any association with him, he has a home theater in Branson, right? I mean, that's big stuff.
Absolutely.
Anybody else have anything for Rachel? Thank you very, very much.
Thank you all very, very much.
I'm going to suggest we take a short break before we move on.
Okay.
Clay, Marshall, let's start this thing. Okay, we have 2 aldermen missing in action. Madam Clerk, let's move along.
Your Honor, the next item is a presentation on economic outlook and mid-year City of Branson financials.
We'll begin with a staff report from Ben.
So my practice session took about an hour.
No.
But I didn't sing it, so I was I'm not allowed to do that anyway. Right? I'd rather have more skilled people do that than myself. It's been a while. It's been a while since I've seen you guys up here. Last time,
From the Bahamas, right?
half the agenda was mine. But what I'm glad to be able to deliver some good news, continued good news from even last year on some of the financials we've got. And I promise you it didn't take an hour to go through this. Just as a reminder, we usually give the board a mid-year update in July. And July was a mess, I know, for me and my firm, so we pushed it to August. But it's still the same information. The other thing I want to remind you is of our budget, there's a $146 million budget. And for the clients that we serve, this is probably the most unusual budget, only because it's so big for the population you've got. It doesn't count the daytime population. And 70% of your budget, 70% of your budget is funded by 5 revenues. 2 of them are sales tax and tourism tax. Huge, right? So what we do, and the Finance Committee sees it every month, they see a dashboard, and this is out there on our website as well, the city's website. But this is and what I did is take just the graphs, blew them up so even I could see them, and put them on the wall, and just kind of wanted to run through some of these. Sales tax only in June, this is only talking about June, is 7% higher than what it was last June. But you'll notice that each one of those blue bars, with the exception of March, is above last year's number. Which is phenomenal. Now, the dots on there represent the budget we expected for that month, and we've beat Again, each one of them except for March, and I think that was a timing error or a timing issue with what the state was collecting and gave us. When we look at it on a year-to-date basis, we're 5% above 22, and 22 was a record year. We're still 5% above what it was. We're 15% above budget. Because remember, when we talked about the budget, we didn't know what inflation was going to do. We didn't know what the recession was going to do. Sales tax and tourism tax are highly discretionary, especially with as much tourism we've got here, right? So we were really careful about that moving into it. But one of the other benchmarks we look at is pre-COVID, 2019 as being a base year, 27% above that for sales tax. Credit the mayor for this one. Whenever we look at any kind of sales tax or tourism tax, we try to find an indicator that what the future might hold, because they're extremely hard to predict, especially when you're talking about discretionary dollars and really traveling for that matter too. So the Public Works Department keeps a track of vehicle counts all over the city. And so what we did is overlay our sales tax, that line right there is overlaid on top of what that same month's vehicle count looks like. So what does that mean? You see the line, it stops in April. That's actually the collections we had for June, because there's 2 years in arrears that we received.
2 months.
2 years, 2 months. Yeah, that would be bad, 2 years. But there's 2 months in arrears. So that April, you look at May, June, and July, those traffic counts keep going up. And in fact, they're higher than what they were last year. And so those are our big months, obviously, May, June, and July. And then it kind of flattens out and stabilizes for the rest of the year. That's a promising outlook for this year. I'd love to beat last year's number, and our last year's numbers were surprising. When we look at the tourism tax, this one was we were a little more careful with. We actually predicted a 5% drop. Again, we didn't know what was going to go on with the inflation and everything else. I know our household, much to my daughter's disappointment, we cut back on a lot of our food bills, so they have to pick it up on their jobs. They didn't like that at all. But in June, we're looking at a 2.4% increase. And even here, they were all above last year's numbers. And last year's numbers were a record, right? Another record. So we're 2.5% above what it was last year, year to date, for tourism tax. We're 57% above the budget. We're extremely careful. A lot of the tourism tax, obviously 75% of the tourism tax is capital-based. So that's something we can pull the trigger on later on in the year when we start talking about budget. We'll do that. We'll assign some of that out and so we can get it moving. But again, a base year, we're 48% above 2019. But we kind of expected to see the 2.5% stabilize, and that's what it's doing, is really stabilizing itself. But we're not dropping below, right now we're not dropping below 22. Same thing for the vehicle counts. Those red columns from May, June, and July are on an incline. We expect tourism tax to take that same trajectory. It's almost a one-for-one. Whenever you look at that incline, you're going to see that sales tax or that tourism tax go up too. So that's really promising right there. Those are the two discretionaries. When we break tourism tax out, we can break them out, and we typically break them out in different chunks, if you will. Amusements and theaters, I think there's 6 of them we break them out into. Amusements and theaters, and these aren't really talking about any one individual entity. It's just a group of them. But amusements, right now, we're 2.8% below what we were last year, but over 2019, we're 71% over 2019. That's a huge number. Theaters were above last year to date by 13.4% or 13.5%, 37% above 2019.
Hey, Ben?
Yep.
So these are actually collected in January, February, right? That
Yes.
doesn't, it's not like the month before kind of thing?
It's one month ahead.
This is a month.
The second question I have, do you ever break it down by like weeks? I know it's real specific. Reason I'm asking is, this year, I like to see that we're up in January.
Yeah.
convinced a few theaters to stay open till January 7th, including that Ozark Mountain Christmas. I wonder if we saw a specific increase or if you could tell or,
I'll go back and ask.
Okay.
I know we control a lot of the receipts that we come in. I'd be curious to see that too. Because we log it in, when we log it in and book it, it's by day that we received it. So we can go back and see if we can get down to that granular. That's a good idea. And when we go through this, you can see like in December, on the theater side, Ozark Mountain Christmas, we're talking about people that come in. What does that look like? Well, you can see on the bookends, January and December, they're really high when you come to the theaters.
Yeah, if you'll notice, when you said that about the graph, when you was talking about the graph a while ago, how May, June, and July are the hottest, because for me, it's those last 3 months where my graph is the highest.
It goes up, yeah.
It's interesting to see how and Mary could probably say she's probably summertime and I'm fall time, but depending on the attraction.
And the venue.
It's interesting.
Right. The hotels, motels were, I'd say flat. It says a minus 0.16%, but that's basically flat. We're still 28% over 2019. And a lot of these numbers, I'm going to say, except for the campground, a lot of these numbers are increases in prices. Obviously, because of COVID and because of inflation, you're going to have some of those increases in prices. So that's some of it. On the campground piece is a little unusual. We're just entering the campground season. I'm going to say that because I'm not a parks director, but when you look at our data from July through the fall is usually the most we receive in campgrounds. So this is really not really representative of what we're going to see coming through. Nightly rentals are up 4% over for June year-to-date from last year. 147, I had to look at that math again, 147% over 19. They're exploding. And this isn't just Branson, it's everywhere that they're exploding. So that's nightly rentals. Restaurants and concessions. I've got a few of those bars that came out of my pocket in some of those restaurants and concessions. I know my daughter right now is with my wife trying to build some of that up right now on their own, because she promised that. But restaurants and concessions are 7% over, with, again, over 19 is 13%. So I think some of those are interesting to see what that looks like. And what you said, Clay, is that same, the timing of it, just to listen to what all's going on in the city and then how that really plays a part of it. When we look at cash balance, operating fund, this is all of the accounts, if you will, or all the funds, if you will. And for the public, what that is we have a service. If we've got a service that we provide, we have a fund or one basic unit, business unit, that we take care of it. It's got its own cash account. You can kind of see the general fund is where everything goes that doesn't have a separate fund. General fund is usually the main operating fund of any city. So on the very first column and on the last column, second to last column, you see the $8 there and the $5 on the far right. Those are both the general fund. So from last year, general fund's up by 1.5 million. From last year, if you combine both of those. Remember, what we did last year is take money out of the general fund, put it into a reserve, specifically for our ERP. Instead of going debt financing it, we paid cash. Transportation's up. Transportation, tourism, well, you'll see tours in a minute. Some of these are cash funds, or capital funds, so they're going to be naturally up, and when the capital's done, they'll drop. When we look at public safety, they're in a really good position. And that one number didn't come out right. But public safety is fire and police. You can see the first one is the police department, the second one is the fire department. Each one of those two have their own savings account on the very far right. So they're doing really well. We've got this cash set aside for the fire station. We've planned out a lot of operations for the police department, and then of course the building that's going to be built here pretty soon, renovated here pretty soon. We'll also be coming back to you. Tourism fund, again, that's mostly capital. You're going to see that drop considerably once that capital starts coming through. I say that.
Can I ask you a question on that? So I know we did, I think it was the fire truck maybe? We did the loan from the
interfund loan.
Is that reflected?
It's coming out of here.
So it still needs to come out?
Right. It's already coming out of that, yeah.
So the 25 million shows without that money.
without the deposit. So that's, I think that's around 10% of that money. So the rest of the 800,000 to million will actually, are still there. It's still in that 25.
It's showing now.
It's showing in there now, right. So once we buy the truck next year or a year and a half from now, then that'll come out.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be, you're not going to, I doubt you'll even see it because the way the revenues are coming in is going to make up for that money.
Sure.
That's one of the reasons we're using the tourism fund to invest in other capital instead of actually borrowing the money. Sure. Right now in the market, you're paying 4.5% to 5% in interest costs. Right. And that's not a small amount of money when we're talking about, a 10-year program. So those are the cash balances. Have obviously, again, no worry about any of those cash balances. On the revenue side, these are only percentages of collections, right? So the flat bar is 50% through the year at the end of June. So that just kind of gives you a benchmark. Where are we and where should we be? Each one of these have its own story, right? For instance, interest. 2 years ago, we were getting paid 0.25% of interest. Now we're at 5%. So you can see that's going to blow the budget completely. But that's revenue that's come in, and that's the general fund for that matter. And this is everything without talking about sales tax and tourism tax. These are just the rest of the revenues. You see the convention center. You'll see this here in a minute. Our 92% of their budget, that's food. Because of the activity that's going through that place, you're going to see that number. That number you want to go up. Just like on the expense side, you want that expense to go up too because of the activity that comes through it. But these look great. And how much of their budget they've already received. Now we look at the expense side. Each one of these has got its own story, obviously, as well. And I'll get to the yellow one. So the general fund is the very first one. Anything in purple is really a fund by itself. The blue ones plus the yellow one are really the general fund departments as they work, as they are. Some of them you can see are above the 50% mark, and that could be anywhere from turnover, having to pay something out, to an encumbrance. They encumbered a capital project ahead of time that's counted in expenses. In the legal side, a lot of that is a forecast for legal. We really didn't have a whole lot of data to go by. So what we did is funded we set the budget at $175,000, knowing that if we have more expenses coming through, we can amend the budget. That's also not a bad thing. As active as Branson is, all the capital projects going through, you're going to want somebody looking at capital and the contracts that are going through here. So you're going to see that. You're going to see that go up. One of the other mitigating factors, obviously, is the RFP. We brought Joe on through an RFP process, and he's been doing great for us. But I did want to point that out. On the convention center, you can see that that 79%. There's your food again. That's skyrocketed. We want to see that. That's 79% of the budget for the entire year. So that's really active. Surplus deficit, this doesn't really mean maybe a whole lot, but just through the end of June, where are we with the general fund? We're at a surplus of $1.2 million. Police and fire, you can see where they're at. Convention center is about break even. Tourism is the $3.8 million we're adding already to reserves. Again, that's a lot of it's capital. It'll come out whenever we get that capital built. Water and sewer at the very far right, you can kind of see where we're at there too. So again, I'm not concerned about this. One thing I do want to point out is the negatives aren't necessarily a bad thing because we've got reserves that we're actually tapping into. So we expect to spend more than what we've got coming in for the year only because those reserves are actually put to use. So you're going to see some of that negative come through. That's the financial outlook. So now I'm just going to take the next 5 minutes to go through some of the economic forecast. And so what we do is when we look at a budget, we try to forecast what's going on in the future. And today, Colby Krzyzanowski that works for me is an economist, and I asked him, and he goes, I don't know. We've never been here before. But we do try to have some logic behind it. A lot of the economy that's in Branson right now that we count on is that sales tax and tourism tax. That means a lot. So those are the two primary revenues that get the most attention from us, is because of that. Now, the other ones don't drop in significance, but these two, we want to really pay attention to them. What we do is take the Branson average between those two, the growth from year to year, and compare that to what, let's say, GDP, right? The growth in the economy. How is that tracking? And do we have a logic for, say, in 23 or 24 of a 1% increase? Well, we've got 2% baked into the sales tax, and that's if we did no other growth from July to the end of the year, it'd still be a 2% increase for the entire year. And I doubt that's going to happen. We're going to have increases every month. But we're looking at 24. This is our first shot at looking at 24 for revenue. So we're looking right now at 2.2%. That could change. Tourism tax, we're looking at something flat, right, based on what we've got in the budget and what we're actually collecting. So tourism tax, I believe right now is on pace to do 17 million. We budgeted 12.5. So that half, that flat number is $17 million, again, in the next year. So that's not a bad thing, but what we do is try to contrast it against some of the growth factors we see. And of course, everybody's got their own numbers, so we try to do an average of all the federal numbers, even though none of them are right. When we look at personal income, again, discretionary dollars, do they have the money to spend? Does my wife have the money to spend what she's spending tonight? And God love her, she's probably doing it. The Missouri, Kansas, Illinois, and Oklahoma, you can see all of them are going up. Don't tell my wife this either, please. Hopefully she's not watching. But each one of those personal income numbers are going up. And these are some of our primary pull factors. This is where people are coming from, right? So that's one of the things we'll look at. As long as that keeps going up, and the national income growth has been going up as well. So that's just one of those things that color some of that increase we've got. The numbers we were really worried about last year, it was this one, and CPI or inflation. There's two different lines on this. The blue line is everything, and it says consumer price index. So this is really an index of anything you spend money on from one year to the 1 month to the next. Is it going up? Is it going down? The blue line is everything you can spend money on. The red line is removing food and energy. Remember, food went up really fast, and it's still going up. Energy is the same way. But you take those two out because they tend to ebb and flow, and you can see it kind of flattens out, but even taking those out, we're still going down in inflation. If you count everything, we're at 2.4. Who knows what July is going to look like, but right now it's got a steady trend of decrease. Again, this is the Midwest. This isn't just Branson, and Branson's different. This just kind of colors what is that income pressure that folks are having on average, if you will.
Ben, speaking to that, do you ever see any indication that, Branson can be a place where, it might cost a little less to come here than Las Vegas or Los Angeles, that kind of thing? You ever see that? You wouldn't want to say recession-proof or, that kind of thing, but you ever see that in our numbers?
Yes, I do. And if you talk about, if you look at the Travel Association, they're calling it revenge travel. And it makes total sense. You couldn't go anywhere in 2019 and 20. By God, I'm going someplace. I'm going to take 2 vacations, not one, because I missed my one I had last year. We did it, but it's revenge. So then I'm going to someplace. I may spend my big bucks and fly someplace, but then I want another week that I can come to Branson because it's local. And there's a slide after this. Well, I'm just going to go there. This actually comes from Explore Branson. They've got a KPI that they put together through research. And what this shows at the very bottom, you can see where the pull factor, and we just heard the chamber talk about each one of those sectors. The mile range that people are driving. So at the very bottom, you can see the 0 to 100 miles. When she talked about that being the primary factors, she's not kidding. When you look at Kansas City, St. Louis, those entities that are in that range, they're going up by what? Here it's 8%, but that's 1.2 million people.
Right, right.
And that's year-to-date. That's not the entire year. But you can see that going up. So that part of the answer there is, if you're not going anywhere else, you're going to go someplace. And if you're going to go someplace, you want it to be here. And I think the dollars that you guys are spending along with the chamber are really taking effect. So I see a lot of these going up. I mean, each one of those numbers are going up. I mean, if you look at it on a linear basis, and it's kind of hard to see that bottom line. The blue line is 2021. The red line is 2023, right? 2021, again, that revenge travel, you see that up there. It's not a typical year. But 2023, you can see above 22, which is more of a normal picture, travel year. So you could probably ignore the blue one. 23 is still above 22. These are the kind of things I find interesting. And my wife doesn't understand that, but I find this interesting because there's a correlation of business and what policies you set in place and how that impacts revenues that provide for the service. It's a big circle. And last year, you guys plugged a lot of capital into that circle.
Yeah, we did.
And we continue to do that. That's the end of my hour. But I do want to say that next week, next Thursday, the department directors have a retreat. It's the second one we've done since I've been here. Another budget retreat. We'll talk about, everything that's been brought up in their budgets. And that way everybody kind of knows what's going on, right? And we can talk through everything. That's not the only thing on the agenda, but that's still a big part of it. And then in September, October, we'll bring back the entire budget. And the idea is to go ahead and have the finance committee sit down with the board, and we'll do a study session, go through that, and we'll showcase the departments again.
Yep.
So that is what I've got, Mayor.
Any questions?
Ben, did I hear you correctly say you're making your kids pay for their own food? So my takeaway was...
Are we on TV?
YouTube.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, I
doing
hope
that.
my kids are watching, right? So my takeaway was my 11 and 9-year-old need to get a job and start
I didn't
helping
say that. I'm
contribute
just
to
saying.
food. So,
Yeah,
no,
I'm
I'm
just
kidding.
saying.
I'm kidding. Thanks, Ben. These are, I know we didn't get to have finance last month, so I appreciate you bringing this to us. And it's encouraging, right? I mean, it's encouraging to continue to see this because I think even still we were like, what's 22 versus this year going to look like? And so far it's holding strong, so pretty excited.
It is. And it's going to be helpful as we can continue to look at the priorities we've got for the expense side. I mean, with the new police building, we're adding 43, 44 positions. We've not been able to do that. As this revenue stays steady, that just proves our point on the 5-year forecast that we can continue to invest in the community like that. But we've got capital that's so high that we could pull back if we needed to. If things went south, we can pull capital back and still make it through those negative areas.
I just want to say how refreshing it is to have him in this position, because I'm in my 3rd year, and it's nice to get a finance report that's not always wah, 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 wah. And even if the number is negative, you still say, hey, it's okay, we're going to be fine, it's going to bounce back, it's encouraging. I mean, you still state the facts, but I don't know, it just feels good to get finance reports that it's just not, I don't want to go jump off a bridge as soon as every time,
I think Ruth and I have talked about that before. I mean, we've been on finance committee since we got on the board, and every time you left finance committee, it's like, all right, well, get the bankruptcy filing ready. Things aren't great.
I just heard a finance report, and I'm just happy. That hasn't happened.
Ben, I was going to say that as well. I just feel very comfortable with you here, and I'm really looking forward to, as we implement our new finance director, continue to work with you, and it's just exciting. So
Absolutely, absolutely.
And we're going to get that word out, right, Kathy, that we do now have a full-time in-house finance director.
Absolutely.
However, we're hanging on to Ben and Baker Tilly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for our.
You need my spending in this community. I'm sorry, not mine, it's my wife and my daughter's.
That's right, your daughter's spending.
She's up in Springfield, she had to come down here and spend the week with us.
Well, that's good, that we saw it in our tax revenues.
It's there.
There you go.
It's there.
I hope you're still married at the next meeting. There was a lot of negative
married-
wife statements in there. and all
I've been
that.
married 30 years. She's been thrown under the bus plenty of times. I have too, though. I have too. It's fair about, yeah. I mean, I like my wife, but
Mr. Mayor?
obviously I can't.
I'm sorry. Kathy? Sorry? Did you say something?
Oh, I did.
Oh, Hillary?
Over here.
Oh.
Me.
I'm sorry, Ruth, yes.
I just wanted to say thank you, Ben, too. Not only are you giving us all the information, everything's online, and our citizens are able to have this information and feel a lot more comfortable, too. So thank you for everything.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
So I just had a quick comment. So Ben, like with the graphs, is this where we start seeing that kind of leveling off? Because we've had those record year of increases. Now we've got 3 years kind of under our belt where we're seeing just that incremental increase. And, the perception is, oh my gosh, there's nobody in town. I don't know where you're driving, because everywhere I'm at, there are people here.
A traffic jam just to get to City Hall.
Yeah, and, it's impossible to get across town. I'm just like, wow. But I love the traffic count thing. I love the pictures. I see the correlation when we started implementing the traffic count with that graph. Like, that's what I look at. Monday, when I look at the traffic count, I'm like, yeah, baby, cha-ching, cha-ching.
Exactly.
And that's always a good thing. But I just know we've had those record momentous years, and we're going to start seeing that number that 2 to.
Yeah, it'll
1 to 2.
normalize.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, we might have got a little spoiled.
And I guess that's
Well,
what I'm
because-
getting at.
because-
We were, yeah.
Because nobody was getting on the airplanes and flying, they didn't want to get next to, and now, so this was an easy place to go, and now that I feel like there's more people starting to explore more and get on planes and stuff, for my theater, we're year-to-date up. I mean, it's so, but you're right, oh man, where's everybody at? Well, it's still better than it was 4 years ago or 5 years ago,
Absolutely. But there's really 3 stages. There's explosion, which is what you see and have seen. Then there's normalized, and then there's stabilized. And we're going from the normalized to the stabilized. The normalized is coming down. The growth rate is just coming down, but then steady. I mean, you've seen 1%, 2%, 3% increases on an annual basis on some of those. Kind of wanting to see where that's at, because we're still in that normalized state. But yeah, I fully expect to see that here in the next couple of years.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I know in our 2019 year, I was very pleased, right? Best year we had. I mean, we were doing well. 21 was just a phenomenon. And I fully expected 22 to be less than 21,
Oh, me too, yeah.
but still wanted it to be higher than 19.
Yeah.
So when 22 beat 21, which was a crazy year, logic says you can't keep setting record
Exactly.
top
That's
of
exactly
record on
right.
top, right?
That's right.
So there will be no disappointment on my side when we see those numbers start coming down.
Yeah, right.
I mean, God forbid we get back to the 21 numbers. I mean, and I'm being serious,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we're doing well.
We represent 3 of the AAAs within Kansas City. Every one of them have double-digit sales tax growth. They're not travel destinations, they're bedroom communities. That tells me that people have money to spend, they're spending it. Their population's not going up, their income's going up.
Yeah.
That kind of tells me they've got the discretionary income to go someplace. When you see trouble in the sky, or I don't want to have to deal with the TSA going through the turnstiles, I just want to go someplace and have fun.
Yep.
We keep seeing that.
Yep.
Well, and I've noticed in the last couple of years too, that the people that are coming are spending more per head.
Yeah.
Big time.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? Ben, very much appreciated.
You bet.
Your Honor, the next item
So
is.
Ben's going to have Holly present when it's bad news. Right, I'm not Holly, who's?
I'm going to have what?
Cherie.
Cherie, I'm sorry. When we see Cherie up here, it's going to be bad news.
That'll be strategic.
Okay. Oh. Okay, Hillary, I'm sorry.
You're good. Your Honor, the next item is a public hearing and first reading of Bill Number 6342, an ordinance establishing the annual levy of a property tax for general revenue in the city of Branson, Missouri, a city of the fourth class.
So we will now open up this public hearing and begin with a staff report from Ben Hart.
So as a reminder, the city, any city in the state of Missouri cannot increase revenue. The mill levy is given to us by the state auditor's office, and that's what it's set at. It can never go up. It can only go down. So what we do, we're also required to put a public hearing together to let the public know what that looks like. We have a first reading and a second reading. We open the public hearing up on the first reading and we close it on the second. And the reason is because the numbers change in the timing of when the state gives us our final numbers, and we'll adjust the resolution in order to adopt the second one.
Hillary, I have a text here that says this public hearing is now closed.
Yeah,
Do I omit that?
That would be the process we've followed, so that was brand new information to me as well.
So Ben, what we have here says we
go ahead.
open this public hearing, we have this dialogue.
Yep.
And then we close this public hearing, and then on the second read, then we'll
Yeah,
open the
and
public
that's fine
hearing
too,
and
yeah.
close it again.
We can do that, yeah.
Okay,
The number will change, it'll go down
Yes,
when we
yes.
get the final one.
yeah, okay. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So really, that's all I've really got on that one. What's in front of you is obviously the staff report. We've got the ordinance in there as well.
So are there any aldermen wishing to make any comments on this? Any public comments? Anybody in the audience wishing to speak on this? Nope. So, Hill, I'm closing it.
Yes, please.
Closing the public hearing. You've now heard the first reading of Bill Number 6342. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So move.
We have a motion, a second. Any alderman wishing to speak? Hearing none, we'll vote. You want a roll call vote on this, Hill?
It does not have to be roll call.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Thank you, Ben.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6343, an ordinance approving the interfund loan between the Tourism Fund and the Capital Improvement Fund campground for the construction of a campground.
So you've heard the first reading of Bill Number 6343. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion, a second, and a third. We'll now get a staff report from Ben.
So this is very similar to what we did with the fire truck, borrowing money from the tourism fund. And what's in this, it really isn't required. It does solidify, if you will, the loan between the tourism fund and the Parks and Rec. But it also allows us to forego a lot of interest in having to lease or finance this and have the luxury of the cash invested. The tourism fund will earn 2% interest on an annual basis, just like if they would have invested it.
Ben, coming up, would you provide us with a report maybe of what the interest is that our community is saving by doing these internal loans?
Absolutely.
I would love to see that number.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll get that out.
That'll be a significant number.
I can actually bring that to the finance committee if you want.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. Anybody wishing to speak to this? Any aldermen? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Your Honor, the next item is a resolution approving a special event permit application for the 50th Autumn Days Arts, Crafts, and Music Festival.
Do I have a motion adopting this resolution?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Staff report from Mark. Hello, Mark.
Thank you, Your Honor, and ladies and gentlemen of the board. I'm actually really excited to present this item. In lieu of all the things we heard today, I think it's great to hear all the things we have happening within the city, extending the seasons and everything like that we have within the city. With regards to this particular item, I think it fits right in that vein because we have an opportunity to look at a special event permit It's actually the special event number 23-008, presented by Jessica Luthart on behalf of the Downtown Branson Betterment Association for the 50th Annual Autumn Days Arts, Crafts, and Music Festival. This particular event is prospective to be on September the 12th through the 16th, with an estimated amount of 10,000 people to attend this particular event. This event is located in the downtown, as you're seeing in this particular diagram. And I'll present a better diagram in just a moment. But why you're looking at this particularly today is because this is actually considered what's a level 3 event, which basically is dictated on the amount of people we expect to see at this particular event. And it largely has to do with what kind of city capacity we have to look at the event, look at street closures, et cetera. And with this event, looking at having over 10,000 visitors, we hope to maybe exceed that number. It would have to go before your board to approve. So with that said, a couple of things to take a look at with this particular event is that this will actually require a temporary street closure during that time frame. Commercial Street, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, is actually going to be closed, as well as the Albury parking lot. This is actually located, as I mentioned, between Atlantic Street and Main Street, and will allow a large tent to be placed within that parking area. This particular event, we're really excited about because it will bring a lot of artisans and musicians to the downtown of the city, and we do enthusiastically recommend approval of this particular event, and we're really encouraged that anybody would come on to the downtown and not only attend this event, but also frequent our downtown vendors, bringing more of the tourists, and not only tourists, but even our residents to enjoy this particular event. So we're really excited about it. Thank you.
Anybody in the audience wishing to speak on this? Any members of the board?
Mr. Mayor?
Sure, Marshall.
So, Mark, in the past, and I just looked it up, and it happens to coincide with one of the days, there's also a big festival that goes on in Hollister, the State of the Ozarks Fest, and it's going to correspond with the last day of this event. So it's just sort of a throwing it out there. Do we ever take that into consideration that, you know, I know it's a neighboring city. I'm not saying taking into consideration of our vote, but how we plan these things, that kind of thing, since there's two big festivals going on at the same time. Do we look into that?
Well, I'd be happy to look at that. I will say that, you know, when we get these applications in, they already have requested the particular days.
Right.
Certainly, with regards to providing the kind of input we have, particularly if it would need staff and city resources to attend the event and make it as successful as it can be, we'd be more than happy to work with the applicant and reveal those kinds of things.
Yeah.
So,
I just think it's something to keep in mind, a wise thing to keep in mind, especially, I mean, that's the same street, basically. And maybe it's a police question, just let them know. But I know it's a neighboring event, but it's publicized very well. And so just to kind of keep in mind for the future. So.
Sure. No,
Yeah,
thank
and
you.
that's, like Mark said, that's really not anything driven by the city. DBVA says we want these days.
Right.
And Hollister says we want these days, so.
But you're saying maybe they keep an eye on that and say, right, well, that's not a problem, but however, do you know that you're going to overlap with a competitor just down the street? And-
Or we might need one other officer or one other barrier or something like that, just to keep it in mind, because it is a big event,
And I guess one other thing I'd like to just add on that is not only do we have that opportunity, maybe at least if they could line up back-to-back days, then maybe we can encourage people from even outside the region to come to maybe go to both events. We'd like to work in
Yeah.
regards to other sister cities in the region, so.
And that might be the thought process behind it, too. Sure.
Well, we're going to find out.
Oh,
Jessica
yeah, we are.
Jessica has something
There it
to
is,
share.
right there.
I would just like to add that ours is the 50th Autumn Days, whereas Soda Fest is fairly new, but we've been having it for a long time. And yes, we do like to cross-promote with them. And we also have a huge concert down at Branson Landing on Saturday, the 16th as well. So we're going to have a lot going on in the area. And the Downtown Branson Association, we take care of our own event, so that we do not utilize our police force for that. I know that the city provides us barricades, but our volunteer staff sets that up. And so I think that we've worked in conjunction now. I believe Soda Fest is in its like 7th year or something. So we've been doing a good job handling it in the past. And I'm looking forward to our 50th year, big year this year.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you, Jessica. Any questions, comments from the audience? Any questions, comments from the board? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6344, an ordinance accepting the proposal of Flynn Drilling Company Incorporated for the repair of Meadows Water Treatment Plant Intake Lake Pump Number 4, and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract.
You've heard the first reading of Bill Number 6344. Do I have a motion approving this bill? We have a motion and a second. We'll get a staff report from Kendall.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the board. I'm excited to be before you tonight because the next 6 items are about water and sewer. So in this item, we are seeking a contract
Excuse me a
approval.
second.
Yes.
Hillary, can we just vote on all 6 of these? Go ahead, Kendall, I'm sorry.
All right. We are seeking a contract approval to rebuild and replace our our Meadows water treatment raw water lake pump number 4 with Flynn Drilling Company, Inc. in the amount of $61,698.85. Staff is recommending approval, and if approved, we are requesting a double read due to time constraints. We had some issues during the contract phase of this pump rebuild.
That's it?
Yes.
I'm sure he's intrigued some of questions from the audience, comments? No? Questions from the board? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Sorry. Your Honor, I move to read Bill Number 6344 for its final reading due to
Time constraints.
That's it.
With the bid.
Do I have a second? Second. So we have a motion and a second. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak regarding this matter? Any aldermen? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Madam Clerk, would you please provide the introduction for this same item?
Your Honor, this is the final reading of Bill Number 6344, an ordinance accepting the proposal of Flynn Drilling Company Incorporated for the repair of Meadows Water Treatment Plant Intake Lake Pump Number 4, and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract.
Where was I?
You just need a motion and a second to put it on the floor.
We have motion and a second. Any questions from the audience?
No, you have to call for the motion, sorry. We need a motion and a second.
Didn't I say that? We have a motion?
So moved.
There you go.
So we have a motion and a second. Anybody in the audience? Anybody on the board? Let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Let's actually do a roll call on this one, because it's a final read. It's a final.
Hey, that's your job.
Okay.
God, I love sitting here.
Fenton?
Yes.
Denham? Yes. Cooper?
Oh, yeah.
Howden? Yes. Rodriguez?
Yes.
LeBlanc?
Yes.
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries. Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6345, an ordinance accepting the proposal of Flynn Drilling Company Incorporated for the purchase of a groundwater well pump assembly for City Well Number 10, and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract.
Before I go on, I was just handed a note. Where's Chief Schmidt? He's not here. The marijuana tax in the county, it passed 72%. City limits, it passed 77%. Very nice.
Jonas is right. County's 85% in, but it's got a pretty 50% margin, so.
Oh, any update on library? Too close yet. Jason? Okay, yes is up 100 votes on library tax, with 2 precincts still needing to report. Thank you. Okay, we're supposed to run a meeting here. Let's see, Your Honor, you've heard the first reading of Bill 6345. Do I have a motion approving this bill? So move. Second. Staff report from Kendall, blah, blah, blah. Any questions from the audience? Question on the board? Let's vote. All in favor, say aye. Okay, Kendall, you're on.
I just can't believe I was trumped by marijuana.
Pay your tax and we'll let you keep talking, buddy.
All right. We are seeking a contractor approval to rebuild and replace our well pump number 10 with Flynn Drilling and Company, Inc. in the amount of $151,803.50. Staff is recommending approval, and if approved, we are requesting a double read due to time constraints, same as the other one with the bid.
Same questions from the audience? Same question, any questions from the board? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Your Honor.
What?
I move to read Bill number 6345 for its final reading due to Kendall's time restraint.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak? Any aldermen? Is this a second read, so you're going to want a roll call?
It's just to read it on the second time, so it could be a voice vote.
Okay, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Madam Clerk, would you please provide an introduction for the same item?
Your Honor, this is the final reading of Bill number 6345, an ordinance accepting the proposal of Flynn Drilling Company Incorporated for the well purchase of a groundwater well pump assembly for City Well Number 10, and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract.
You've heard the first reading of Bill 6345. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Anybody in the audience? Any members of the board? Hearing none.
Let's
Madam
roll
Clerk?
call.
Yeah, would you
Yeah.
provide a roll call vote?
Fenton.
Yes.
Denham. Cooper.
Yes.
Bowden. Yes. Rodriguez.
Yes.
LeBlanc.
Yes.
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries. Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill number 6346, an ordinance approving the contract with Algier Martin and Associates for the final engineering and design of the neighborhood water system improvements, Hiawatha Heights, and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract.
I'm excited about this one. This is a big move for our community. You've heard the first reading of Bill 6346. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Staff report from Kendall.
We are seeking a contract approval to engineer and design water system improvements within the Hiawatha Heights subdivision in the amount of $459,500. We do have an exhibit up before you tonight. The red circle or polygon around the subdivision would be the area of focus. The items of focus, so the focus points include upsizing of water mains for improved volume and fire protection, additional fire hydrants, additional valving, city-owned service line replacements, pressure zones assessments, and future services to vacant lots, and then paving of subdivision for a complete package. Staff is recommending approval, and if approved, we are requesting a double read due to the continued water service interruptions within the subdivision because of the age of the existing water system continues to result in water main breaks. Happy to answer any questions.
In the audience have any questions? Members of the board? Kendall, I don't know if you have this information. Do you have a guesstimate on from the time we break ground to the time it's completed? Is that 12, 18 months?
So we'll work with our design professional to come up with a construction schedule. But this is pretty extensive. It's a large project. I would estimate in a time frame range of around 12 to 18 months.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let's vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Here we go again. Another double read. Your Honor, I move to read Bill number 6346 for its final reading due to more time restraints.
Well, kinda.
A lot of time.
We have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Anybody in the audience wishing to speak? Any aldermen? Yes, Kendall, thank you very, very, very much. Please vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Madam Clerk, would you please provide the introduction for this item?
Your Honor, this is the final reading of Bill number 6346, an ordinance approving the contract with Algier Martin and Associates for the final engineering and design of the neighborhood water system improvements, Hiawatha Heights, and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract.
You've heard the final reading of Bill number 6346. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second by the audience wishing to speak. Any aldermen? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, would you call roll call vote, please?
Fenton?
Yes.
Denham? Cooper?
Yes.
Howden? Rodriguez?
Yes.
LeBlanc?
Yes.
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries. Your Honor, the next item is the first reading of Bill number 6347, an ordinance approving the intergovernmental agreement with Taney County for the county to provide funding toward the cost of the city's planned 2023 public sewer system upgrade for lift station number 46 construction and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract.
You've heard the first reading of Bill 6347, a motion approving this bill.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Staff report from Kendall.
We are seeking a contract approval for an intergovernmental agreement with Taney County for sewer sales tax funding in the amount of $855,500 to help fund the completion of lift station 46. Total project cost is $967,250. The remainder, $111,750, would be funded by tourism dollars. This funding will allow us to complete the lift station by adding pumps, yard piping, controls, and emergency backup generator. I do have an exhibit before you as well. You can see in the yellow polygon area, that would be the service area of this lift station that's currently in place. We currently are maintaining flows by pump truck, so we are having to visit the site more frequently due to the increased development out in the area. I'd like to highlight the purple or magenta line, the gravity sewer that's labeled as Animal Safari. That line was installed also with sewer sales tax funding some time back. And our goal is to fund this project completely with sewer sales tax dollars. The lift station serves the two developments outside the city limits, but within our regional area. The two developments are the Whisper Cove development and then the estates at Majestic Point, which is to the south. Staff recommends approval. Happy to answer any questions.
I want to say this is an example of the cooperation between the city of Branson and the Taney County Commissioners. I want to publicly share my appreciation with the cooperation that the Taney County Commissioners provided us in working on this agreement. This is an $855,000 work, and Taney County is using the full $850,000 from their sewer fund to repay the city of Branson to put this in.
Yes, and to echo on that a little bit, expand upon it, I have another project that will, the county is also planning to designate another $1.6 million towards our projects. So they've been very, very helpful this year in making our projects happen.
Well, I also want to thank Kathy. I've reached out to Taney County Commissioners. Kathy has met with them also. And building that relationship, right, is the way it should be, and it's paying dividends. And again, I want to thank the commissioners.
Yep.
So does anybody in the audience have any questions on this? Any members of the board? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Your Honor, the next item is the first reading of Bill number 6348, an ordinance accepting the proposal of Midwest Contractors and Consultants Incorporated for the construction of lift station number 46 improvements and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract.
You've heard the first reading of Bill 6348. A motion approving this bill.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, second, third. Staff report from Kendall.
We are seeking a contract approval with Midwest Contractors and Consultants, Inc. in the amount of $967,250 for the completion of lift station number 46. And again, the sewer sales tax funding would fund the majority of this project through the $855,000, and the remainder would be covered through tourism dollars. Staff recommends approval. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Kendall. Any questions from the audience? Questions from the board? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Ayes have it. Thank you. Kendall, do you need a chair?
I'm good. Thank you, Mayor.
Your Honor, the next item is the first reading of Bill Number 6349, an ordinance accepting the proposal of Brentag Mid-South Incorporated for the water and wastewater treatment operation chemicals and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract.
So you've heard the first reading of Bill Number 6349. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and we'll get a report from Kendall.
We are seeking a contract amendment with Brentag Mid-South, Inc. to continue the purchase of operational chemicals for the city's water and wastewater treatment process. The amendment adds an additional $45,000 to the original $45,000 contract for a total of $90,000 for the year. Staff recommends approval of the contract amendment with Brentag for the purchase of operational chemicals.
Anybody in the audience wishing to speak? Any aldermen? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Kendall,
Kendall,
before you
you're
leave.
done already?
I got a question for you, Kendall, before you leave. That 1.2 million, do you know if any of that has, if Country Bluffs sewer expansion is involved in that, or
As far as the sewer sales tax funding?
that 1.2 million that we're getting from the county?
So we received funding for 3 projects, Lift Station 46, Lift Station 10, and Lift Station 34. So you heard tonight, Lift Station 46 is the $855,000. Lift Station 10 would be another $800,000, and Lift Station 34 would be another $800,000. So 1.6 additional dollars that I'm hoping to bring to you closer to fall.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kendall.
Your Honor, the next item is the first reading of Bill Number 6350, an ordinance accepting the proposal of Hartman and Company Incorporated for the concrete repair and replacement and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract.
You've heard the first reading of Bill 6350. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Staff report from Michael.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the board. Bigger, bolder, 5-year plan, right treatment, right time. So this is the second part of that. So it's the 2023 concrete replacement. We'll go real quick. The objectives of this was wise spending, repair concrete ramps, sidewalks, getting the best possible cost and cooperation with our asphalt projects. So we received 2 bids. The first time we went out, we only got 1 bid, so we put it back out. Again, lowest bid was Hartman and Company. A lot of people should be familiar with that company, large company out of Springfield, Missouri, $154,982 plus the bid alternative of $71,200 for $226,182. The alternative bid is for Fire Station 3, and we'll go over that real quick. So I wanted to just give you a little bit of a visual as we go through. So Branson Hills Parkway, some of the ADA ramps and stuff like that are very difficult to do and do correctly. So that's what we chose to send out to this instead of using city crews. The price breakdown's there for $11,000 for that area. That's an area that's getting overlaid this year. So it's in cooperation of improving the ADA accessibility. So we try to do a small percentage every year, not to get further behind than we are. So Green Mountain Drive, overlaying that whole area, there's quite a few different areas that don't have the proper crosswalks. I included a picture of what that looks like and the amount of detail work that goes into making sure that they're safe for wheelchairs. That grouping there was $66,520. Wildwood and Gulfview was actually a pretty easy one. It's just a long distance, so $2,400 to replace quite a few panels in a row that have heaved and buckled over the time. Gretna Road, 76 north of Wildwood Drive, there's multiple locations that are there, and that's $12,968. So curb ramp, some sidewalk, and curb and gutter, little bits and pieces all up and down there as we overlay that. Pavement transition to Roark Road, there's some ADA ramps that we're going to take care of near the new police station. So the objective is to get Gretna and all your colored routes all cleaned up and in pretty decent shape. Now you'll see city crews come back in and do some of the flat panel work, which is easier work, and we can get in and out and be a little bit more cost effective than sending them out to bid. Fire Station 3 driveway replacement. This picture does pretty good justice in here. I could probably do justice online. So there's significant spalling and cracking that's there. So we're supposing that underneath that the concrete, once we pull it up, we're going to find some interesting sub-base issues that are going on. So this made sense to, there's a little bit closer picture, to send out to bid. So this is a $71,200 driveway, super expensive driveway, 8 inches thick, put some quite a bit of rebar in there, and 1 inch Sarah's number 3 is a pretty exciting project. We wanted to highlight that the funds are budgeted in the transportation operating budget for $154,982. The remaining $71,200 is for Fire Station 3 driveway, will be paid out of a separate fund, which is the Fire Public Safety Funds. They both have the amount of money. Staff recommends to award the lowest bidder, Hartman and Company, for the base bid of $150,982, with $71,200, with a total of $226,182 worth of concrete work. Happy to answer any questions.
Michael, on this, you said these funds were coming out of our public safety fund?
Just for the fire station driveway.
Just for the driveway?
Just for their driveway. Okay. And so basically what I've done this year is every time I take something out to bid, if one of my cohorts or other workers, if it's parks or it's fire station or the police station, I call my buddies in, come on in and let's make a bigger bid. Gets better dollar than them going out on their own.
I really appreciate you really sharpening your pencil. And I mean, I can see when you bring projects like this, you're constantly looking for cost savings. And that's very much appreciated.
Thank you.
Any questions from the audience? Questions from the board? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Thank you, Michael.
Your Honor, the next item is the first reading of Bill Number 6351, an ordinance approving the contract with CXT Incorporated for the purchase of a precast concrete restroom and shower and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract.
You've heard the first reading of Bill 6351. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Staff report from Cindy.
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, the following agreement is for the purchase of a precast concrete restroom and shower for the new campground expansion. So the structure is being purchased off a cooperative bid with Sourcewell. So if you're not familiar with cooperative bidding, it basically combines the purchasing power of state organizations, cities, counties, municipalities to obtain better and lower bids for equipment or products. For example, if you see Public Works talking about they're buying a vehicle off a state bid, it's kind of like that. Branson Municipal Code, Section 2-360, authorized the city of Branson to use cooperative purchasing. And Chad, you can kind of scan down through that brochure that you have right there. The contract is for the purchase of a prefabricated restroom and shower facility from CXT Incorporated. CXT is the leading manufacturer of precast concrete restroom, showers, and concession and multi-purpose buildings. The contract is for a building that would include 4 family-style, fully accessible restrooms with showers. The funds are available in the 2023 Capital Improvement Fund, which is kind of what Ben did the interfund borrowing for earlier, and for the campground expansion. And staff recommends approval of the contract with CXT Incorporated for a total not to exceed $214,792.80. Staff recommends approval of the bill. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Ben, where does this fall? Cindy, we won't need this building for another many months.
Sure. So it's 5 to 6 months out right now.
Oh, to order it, it takes 5 to 6 months to get
Yes,
it.
150 to 180 days is how long it takes.
To make a restroom?
Yes.
We're in the wrong business.
We are in the wrong business. I heard Kathy say that all the time, but $214,000. Yeah.
And 4 to 5, 6 months to get it.
Yes, that's right.
And we're naming these bathrooms after Boxcar Willie, right? Not.
Sure. Or if we can, yes, absolutely.
Okay, so will this show up under 2023 capital expense, or will this show up as 24?
Well, we'll have to make the purchase. I mean, we'll probably have to pay some this year. Yeah.
See, it might be a little bit of both. I mean, if.
Got it.
Yeah.
So much up front will show this year, Because you said it was budgeted, the entire amount was budgeted for '23.
Yeah, that is part of the $1.5 million that we
Got
budgeted
it.
for the campground expansion.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're nearly starting construction soon. So
When are
we'll
you
be.
gonna start that thing?
Well, so just last week, I sent the compliance certification to the Corps of Engineers that we've completed the shoreline stabilization that we were working with the Simmons to do, so that's done. And so they've let us
good.
know we're moving forward with the closing. So as soon as that's done, we can start construction.
30, 60 days?
No, longer than that.
Chop, chop. No? Cindy, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I know that's a big undertaking, and we also know we're in good hands. We don't ask questions on this because we know you're driving this thing.
We're excited. We're definitely working with Public Works. They've been part of this too, so we appreciate their help.
In the audience, have any comments on this? Come on, it's a brand-new restroom. Any members of the board? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Cindy, thank you so much.
Your Honor, the next item is appointments. This appointment process is in accordance with the Board and Committee Appointments Procedure for Category 2 appointments made by the governing body. The board will be voting by ballot on and the applicant receiving the most votes will be appointed to the Tourism Community Enhancement District with a term expiring September 2026.
Okay, do I have a motion to vote by ballot on the following applications for the Tourism Community Enhancement District?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Mayor, I don't know
Yes.
if anybody's interested, but I know there's at least 4 people in the room that their names are on this. I didn't know if anybody wanted to say anything or.
Oh. Any of the 4 candidates that are here, would you like to address the board? Sue? Thank you for that, Cody.
Sales pitch.
I figured you've been here, as long as I have tonight, so why not get a chance to speak?
My name is Sue Braun, and I have a retail store in Branson, Missouri, and I'm also executive director of the League of Branson Theater Owners and Show Producers. And I have applied, I think this is the second or third time I've applied for the TCED position. And the reason I'm applying for this is because I believe in Branson, I believe in the Branson brand, and you didn't have this new section thing that you did today about signs and all this other stuff, so I have something.
Never mind, Mayor, no. I withdraw my invitation.
She's got a guitar.
No, okay, the first thing in Branson is faith. Faith is the first part of the brand of Branson.
Here comes the grandchildren.
The next part of Branson is family. And this is my family, actually. Not my immediate family, but it's my family. The next, flag. The flag. That is a very important part of Branson and a very important part of the Ozark Mountain Christmas season. And I'm just doing this for fun. Anyway, I do believe in the values of Branson and the brand that Branson tries to portray. I feel that anyone that is vying for this position should wholeheartedly support the Branson brand in all their thought, word, and deed, as well as voting. And I would like to be your next representative. I do know that there are 2 other people that are running for this, Marshall and Lisa, and they both fully support the Branson brand. If you don't pick me, one of those guys would be good.
Thank you, Sue. Derek? No? Marshall?
I just want to say my name is on the ballot, but I intend to vote for Lisa Rao.
Lisa? And those are the 4?
As far as I know.
Okay, so we have a motion, a second. The board will be voting by ballot, and the city clerk will read the results. Please vote for one applicant. Mayor does not vote except to break a tie. Okay, there you go.
Okay, I am going to read the results of the votes. Cody Fenton voted for Derek Smith. Ruth Denham voted for Lisa Rao. Clay Cooper voted for Lisa Rao. Marshall Howden voted for Lisa Rao. Jack Rodriguez voted for Lisa Rao. And Ralph LeBlanc voted for Lisa Rao.
Come on. Bring your props. Sue, that was cute, by the way.
Hello, my name is Lisa Rao, and I can't tell you how much I'm enjoying my new job. And I thank you all so much, and I do want to say, Mr. Derek Smith, you have held such a good court. You've done so well and carried that torch, and we are thankful to have you in this town, and we hope you stay involved. And I do appreciate this opportunity, and I believe all through my heart in Branson and this community that we all lovingly call home. So thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. I would like to thank everybody who applied. Derek, truly appreciate your leadership over the years. Obviously, and just so grateful that we had 6 very high-quality candidates for this position. That really says a lot. Lisa, I know you'll do a good job. We are to the report section of the meeting. Alderman Fenton, other than your popcorn, is there anything you would like to share appreciation for?
I do got to thank the mayor publicly. He was kind enough to bring me popcorn tonight, and I don't think there was any request associated with that, but I am appreciative. Unfortunately, I wasn't there, so I didn't get the names of the folks that showed up. We had when the storm came through a week or so ago, a week and a half ago, we lost a big chunk of our fence, and then we also had a tree that was split in half and was covering one of the roadways. And that morning, I left for work, and within an hour, my wife was texting me saying that some folks from the city were there getting that cleaned up. So this isn't a kudos to Michael, it's to his department. So sorry, Mike, this is for your staff. I don't think you were out there running the chainsaw. Yeah, I doubt it.
He was.
Okay.
Touche.
Look at that.
My apologies, Mike. Hey, that goes back to that whole you don't like Ward 2 thing. You know, we got this beef going on. It's kind of an inside joke.
He deserved every bit of that,
Yeah,
Cody.
thank you, Clay. But no, seriously, I don't know who it was. I apologize for not knowing that, but truly was appreciative of how quickly they were out there and kind of put my wife's mind at ease, because I know she was looking at this tree saying, how in the world are we going to take care of this? And I went to work. So clearly I wasn't stepping up and doing it. So thank you to those guys. And then to my friend Clay, congratulations, buddy. That is quite the honor you're receiving this weekend. And couldn't have happened to a better, more deserving person. So congratulations to you, sir.
Thank you.
Ruth?
Yes, congratulations to Clay, had to add that. And yes, Michael and Kendall and all of you for getting the crews out. They were working long hours and it was so hot. And I had the opportunity to go out and visit some that were working in, some of the workers working in our area. So thank you very, very much for what you do. And Michael, we know where you're probably going to get Ralph and me a bag of popcorn too.
Okay. Clay?
Well, sorry I missed last meeting, but I took a little family vacay to Florida, Orlando, Florida, and we had a memorable vacation. I don't know if it was relaxing, but it was very memorable. A lot of walking going on down there, but we had a great time, and I was just so glad to be able to. However, I did listen to the entire meeting all the way to Texas. Well, that was the week before, but and I did have, I don't know if I'm allowed to do this, but I had a question for, I've had several calls about, maybe there was a main break on Nyhart while I was gone on vacation, Kendall, like,
Go ahead, Kendall.
is that okay if I?
Come on, Kendall.
Only
sure.
because I've had.
No, you're not supposed to, but it's.
Well, I've had several calls. There looks like there'd been something dug out, and there's a lot of gravel. Now the gravel's all out, and it's like a big crater. So I had calls like, do you know when they're going to get this fixed? So I thought, well, I'll ask the guy.
Yeah, so we'll actually take a look at that first thing in the morning.
Okay.
And if we need to add some more material temporarily to help traffic flow. And then we also work with Public Works and Michael's group on getting it patched back, so.
So we're just waiting on asphalt or concrete
Yeah,
or something?
Yeah, usually they do it in batches, but we'll coordinate.
Yeah, it's pretty, a lot of it's, well, you know, Marshall, you came through there a couple of times. The gravel's kind of, it's pretty. So anyhow, I asked the question, and thank you for the answer.
So Kendall, what I heard you say was you're waiting on Michael to get this done?
Physically.
Apparently he's been out chainsawing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kendall. That's all.
Marshall?
Lisa, I'm so excited for the opportunity that you're going to get. Look forward to really working with you as a board with our new TCED rep. And I think that's going to be incredibly fruitful. And I just want to end it with saying, you know, happy 91st birthday to my granddaddy. You know, he never really wanted to get into the politics of this stuff, Mr. Mayor, but he definitely saw the value in things like faith, family, flag, and I know he'd be really proud of Clay, too. So, happy birthday, Granddaddy.
Very nice.
He had strong opinions, though.
Chuck? Ralph?
Yes. Yeah, I just want to, Clay, congratulations.
Thank you.
You know, yeah, my dad would be proud of you, too. Yeah.
His daddy was my buddy.
Yeah.
Long before I even really knew Ralph.
Yeah. So I was telling Kathy, you know, our convention center, I'm just going to give a shout out to them because I had an opportunity to attend a chiropractic event there and another event, and that place is rocking. Their personnel there are, I mean, why they meet those thresholds is because those guys are on point there. I mean, they knew me from nobody. I'm just in there, chiropractor, do an event, and any ask, they were there. Anything you needed, they were there. And the staff was great. The venue was great. So I definitely see the value in our convention center. And, you know, with the storms, I mean, we've had back-to-back storms. That's been a heavy lift for all the staff. And, you know, thank you. Thank you so much for everything you guys do. You're from department heads on down, because I see the guys out there working, and it's hot, and it's laborsome. And, but thank you guys for everything you do for the residents of this community. And we really appreciate it. So thank you.
Kathy?
Thank you. Mayor, I would first like to start by thanking all of you because you guys do such a really wonderful job of being so generous in your praise for staff and noticing the little things that they do when they go above and beyond, enduring high temperatures and grueling conditions. And you all are very effusive in your praise, and it goes so long. Those little comments like that really mean a lot. So I want to thank you on behalf of everybody at City Hall for your generosity. Jonas, I want to thank you. You're here tonight with us. Congratulations, Jonas, and thanks to the Taney County Partnership for your great work on the campaign to back the blue and tax the green. Yes, yes. So thank you very much for all of your help in that. Cynthia Carson's here with us tonight, too. She's the current president of the Branson Chamber, CVB. Cynthia and I have had some really good conversations, getting to know each other better. And I'm telling you, we have sunny skies in front of us when we're talking about the relationship between the city and the CVB and the chamber. So I'm very excited about moving forward together as a community. And thank you, Cynthia, for your generosity to me. Also, I would be remiss if I didn't thank everybody that was involved in the storm efforts and the cleanup efforts. So this is parks and utilities that had to go through a lot of grueling, being without power and worried about what's going to happen at the plant and making sure we've got contingency plans in place, staying up all night. Police, fire, as always, right? They're usually the first people out there to respond. And of course, Ralph. I'm sorry. And of course, our volunteers, the people in this community who give with their hands and feet, they put those into motion. It's not just words for our community, it's action. And every day I am inspired by the good works of my neighbors around me. So thank you, and God bless everybody, and thank you for being patient with us as we worked through those challenges. We'll always get through them together in Branson. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. I would like to start off my report by really taking my hat off to Kathy Stepp. I've seen her work with many directors, with many employees, and the work that she has put in with the relationship with our chamber and CVB, we are seeing the results in front of our very eyes, right? So Cynthia, thank you for your support in that. Jonas, well, you're Jonas. I can't give you a compliment in public. This is being recorded. I too want to show appreciation for Clay. He is well deserving of this award, and it is a big, big deal. And again, Lisa, congratulations on your new role. I look forward to that. I too want to thank all of our departments during this windstorm. That was really a historic event in our town. And when I drove through my neighborhood, it almost looked like a war zone, right? You had to weave in and out and around. And that was a lot of work. And our volunteers, thank you so much. I'm just excited. I think that every day I feel like our city hall is just running on all cylinders. I will say our bandwidth is stretched because we have so many things going on at one time. It's a good time to be the mayor of Branson, Missouri. I'll entertain, I believe I'm entertaining a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Oh, sure, now they all jump in. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Motion's adjourned.